Hi, I'm John Carpenter, and you will see me in The Thing expanded documentary.
U.S. number 31 calling McMurdo. Urgent.
Come in. Over.
Did you notice anything strange about the dog? Anything at all?
Strange? No.
What the hell happened here?
Looks like something buried under the ice.
What we're talking about here is an organism that imitates other life forms.
Somebody in this camp ain't what he appears to be.
Bennings was right there, Mac. I swear to God it had a hold of him.
It could have imitated a million life forms on a million planets.
There was one of those things out there trying to imitate him, Gary. We gotta burn the rest of them.
Nobody trusts anybody now.
So how do we know who's human?
There's some kind of test, Doc.
We're gonna draw a little bit of everybody's blood.
You ain't tying me up.
Then I'll have to kill you, child.
You gotta be kidding.
We gotta bring this whole place right down into the ice. We're not getting out of here alive. But neither's that thing.
I'm most proud of this movie. I wouldn't change a frame of it.
We're gonna get a little bit crazy, wild and maybe even vulgar, if you please. It's after dark and we're gonna light it up. Got some fun in store for you, no tease. It's time for midnight sex. After dark, a little naughty, will hopefully make you chuckle, but we ain't trying to hurt nobody. So get ready quick on the double, cause it's time for midnight sex. After dark.
Tonight, we don't know what the hell we're talking about. But that's normal. I guess there's a Crow scene that got released. We're getting a John Madden movie. And maybe some more. Whatever you guys want to talk about. This is Dealer's Choice night here on Midnight's Edge After Dark, because it has got to be one of the slowest fucking news days I've ever seen in my life. Maybe that's the curse of us always being kind of ahead of the curve. You guys ever notice that? Like we did the Disney story that everybody's doing today and some other shit that everybody's been doing. So now we're sitting here just going, twiddle our fucking thumbs.
We're so far ahead that we have nostalgia for the future.
That's right. We have nostalgia for the future.
That was
of
good,
course,
70s.
Is
I stole
Brian,
that one.
Brian, how you doing? 70s
All right.
rock fan.
Hi, how's it going? How are
We're
you
glad
doing?
to have you here. Usually, it's been about a week or so since we've seen you. A week or two.
Yeah, I have to get special permission to do shows at this time of night.
Well, I understand. We're kind of a bad influence.
It's the way it is, you know. I mean, I'm not going to move again for a while, so we're stuck in this time zone. You'll just have to get it's part of the tension. Will he turn up? Won't he turn up? You know, I'm just trying to bring a little tension into your lives.
Little Willy.
Little
We
Willy
have
won't go.
Nick here as well. How you doing, Nick?
Hey, Tom. Hey, 70s. So,
Hello.
it is a very slow day, but oh, hey, look, it's Sean Eastep. By the way, Sean Eastep sent me a huge
He sent you one too?
package. And, oh, dude, it's glorious.
He's
Like,
threatening to send me a package.
dude, he should send you the biggest one, and he sent me a big one, and I was, man, it was just absolutely diabolical. I did an unboxing on Clobby's comic shop about it, but yeah. Anyways, yeah, Nicolas Cage is John Madden. There's a trailer that came out for a show, and a movie came out, and yeah, I guess we'll talk about maybe a little bit.
Pretty good too, yeah.
Well, I'm not surprised. I mean, that is definitely one of those movies that did carry on a few generations. I mean, you could find that's actually one of those movies where if you're a fine youngins who are into movies, especially in the goth corner, they're going to latch on to Beetlejuice. So that is definitely a movie that is multi-generational. So I do see Beetlejuice getting a strong first weekend.
Yeah.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Well, we'll have to see how it goes. We got Patrick Robinson in the house.
Oh, another ring.
Just got out of Alien Romulus, claiming it's a 10 out of 10. Well, good for you for enjoying it for $4.99, Patrick. Thank you for that.
Nice.
I'm gonna sit this one out.
You set this one out. You're sticking your guns on this one.
Yeah, the last two really pissed me off, so
I never even saw.
I'll wait for it's going to be on streaming in 36 days anyway.
Yeah, I never saw these other two. The last one I watched was Resurrection, and actually no, that's a lie. I saw Alien versus Predator. I count that as
well. Wow, you go way back then.
That's how many?
I mean, actually, I would say probably if you count those, the last 4 or 5 movies have sucked. So why would I go?
I've kind of got lost with the timeline now. I mean, we kind of went back, we went forward, we went sideways.
See, this one takes place in between Alien and
1
Aliens.
and 2, yeah.
Oh, okay, right.
Yeah, I'm all from what it sounds like the less I see of the movies that were and were not Alien movies, decided depending on what day of the week it was for Ridley Scott. Seems like I benefit from not seeing those. So now I'm a little bit enthusiastic for Romulus.
Well, we'll see how it turns out tonight after the previews. Aaron, says he hadn't even heard of it. It wasn't for people like Culture and myself and other channels. I haven't seen a whole lot of regular advertising. I've seen some internet advertising. That's about
it's looking to do somewhere between 45 and 55. The average while I'm looking at all the tracking for its opening weekend. So it's definitely going to be number one. And I guess you could say that number is pretty much standard with what I think Prometheus did around 50 or 51 when it came out back in 2013 or 14. So it seems right in line with what it would normally do with or without an Alien title in it.
Well, will it have what we want from an Alien movie, which is lots of face hugging, chest bursting, and large amounts of gunfire?
I want that when I go to the
squishy
strip club. I don't know about the theater, but
strip club. Yeah. Alien stripper.
Yeah, there we go. Now you're
she
talking.
Can be anything you want her to be.
Yeah, I mean, after Covenant, I was just Covenant pissed me off so bad. So I mean, I'm glad people are liking this one. I've never been. I mean, I like the Alien films. I'm a fan, but I'm not like an uber fan.
Same. I'm a casual fan.
I've seen the last few in theaters, but after this, I'm just gonna wait.
I would have said I was an uber fan of Alien and Aliens. Beyond that, I'm not as keen, but those two are seminal movies.
Oh, I love 1 and 2.
Yes,
but
yes.
Here's the thing: when I saw 3 and Resurrection, I only saw those movies once each, and I never watched any of them again.
See, I've always felt the problem was that Alien 3, which in retrospect isn't that bad a movie. I mean,
no, it stands pretty well on its own. Yeah,
I wasn't that keen at the time, but when I look back at it and watch it again, it's not too bad. I get the idea. I think that was the point. They should have gone to Earth.
I agree. What they should have
goes to Earth.
Yeah, they should have had it to where, or at least gotten it to where, like, because the problem I think most people have with that film is I don't think anybody would have been so mad had they set it up in a way that, Newt and Hicks actually survived, right? So like, why kill them? Like, that's what pissed everybody off. And if not, then if you're gonna write them out, well, at least make it to where they get back to Earth or something like that. And Ripley happens to go out for some other reason, and then she gets trapped on the. You could have come up with a half a dozen other things, right? That could have worked on this. Like, just the setup, I think, was the problem. Because once you get into the movie proper, if you look at it on its own in isolation, not to be punny, not to be punny. I mean, it does kind of work on its own as a really nice, thrilling suspense monster movie, right? It's taking it as a sequel to Aliens that it fails to live up to that storytelling, to the and you know what? And I can't even say James Cameron would have done a better job, because this is the same motherfucker that said, yeah, go ahead and kill John Connor within the first few minutes of Dark Fate. Nobody cares.
Oh, I know.
Not only that, kill him when he's a kid.
But at the time of Alien 3, I was angry when I watched it in the cinema when Newt and Hicks were killed.
A lot of people were.
I was actually angry, and it ruined the rest of the movie. And then for years, I couldn't watch it again. And now I have to watch it in isolation. I forget it's connected to the others. But it's got its good points.
That's kind of why I like the alternate cut, because then you can kind of watch it as like an also ran
Yeah.
kind of thing. An Alien Resurrection is just a fucking mess. I
So
don't
dumb.
know what the hell they were thinking there, because that baby thing at the end is really what turns me off. And then Alien versus Predator is okay. The second one is an abomination.
Oh yeah.
And then Prometheus has some interesting ideas, but we were talking about this before the show. I'm like, I just didn't like that they had to add all this history to the big giant blue people. It's like, why is it that they have to be gunning for Earth? Who cares? We are so insignificant compared to them. Why would they care? Right? I like the idea in the first film presented to us, in this idea that whoever these people were, they created this biological weapon and it got away from them. Right?
Yes.
To me, that's that's all you really need to know.
I think Ridley Scott felt the need to create some kind of pretentious mythos behind the whole thing. And, you know, a larger universal
Well, even admit he wanted
imperative.
to reclaim it a bit, yeah. And I think he kind of felt jealous of what, because, you know, if you think about it, most of the lore that was added to it and added on top of was James Cameron. And he just basically said, okay, well, what's the life cycle of these things and how do they work? Well, clearly, if you're going to have like a hive like they had there with all the eggs, who's going to lay those eggs? Okay, a queen. So then if you have the queen, then the rest must be like drones. So he kind of came up with this, you know, kind of idea of, you know, that's how they worked. And I think Ridley was always kind of jealous of that aspect of it. But we have a script doctor joining us, so he may have a thing or two to say about that.
Nice.
Hello, gentlemen. Sorry for I'm late. I had a late surprise job interview for a gig, and I just got out of it and saw some interesting news. But what are you guys talking about? What's going on tonight?
Sadly, we're talking about Alien right now. We're about to move on though to other things here eventually, but yeah.
Alien. Yeah.
Talk about tumbleweed.
Talking about like what, the Romulus or the other?
All of them, really, yes.
All of them, really. Like
I was griping about how Prometheus just they demystified the beast by adding this stupid storyline of the giant blue people.
Oh yeah, the engineers
trying to send it to Earth all the time, and it's like, who cares? We'd be insignificant compared to them. I like the idea of it was just, it's a biological weapon, got away from them, and oops. You know,
because the movie we really needed was not Alien versus Predator, it was Alien versus Thing. That's the movie we really needed.
Nice plug for the Thing expanded too.
Oh, that's true.
Oh yeah.
They're both getting an expand. Well, yeah, Alien's
got it already. The video hasn't come out, but if you signed up for it, you got the digital version. That's already been released.
Yeah, that's the digital's available. I'm waiting for a physical. I missed the
It's like 4.5 hours long, man. I haven't had a chance to watch it yet.
Well, it's the same as Edge. I've got the Tomorrow one, In Search of Tomorrow. That's 4.5, 5 hours long at least.
Well, I'm just looking at like these ones now, because they got that one and a couple other ones. It's like, if you're gonna make a making of documentary that's like that long, Jesus, man, I love them. Don't get me wrong, I'm not complaining, but I'm sitting here looking at like my Friday the 13th and Camp Crystal Lake documentaries, going, yeah, I'm looking at you, motherfuckers. Why are you shorter than these ones? When they're only about one movie. Like, give me more. Come on. You know,
I always miss the middle of a 4.5 hour documentary because I just fall asleep. So I've never seen
somebody
the
said
middle.
they did fall asleep during the Aliens one, so maybe it is a bit too chunky.
It's hypnotic. These are hypnotic.
Like I love those kind of documentaries. So like RoboCop, the new one, the 4-part whatever one, it's like 3 hours long. Like that one really got me too. Like I couldn't stop watching it. I love those kind of things.
Oh god, yeah, just it's pure nerd feel. Love it. That's my
Ghostbusters
kind of
had
thing.
one a few years back that come out, cleaning up the town. That's a good one. And these are all mostly fan produced documentaries, basically. So like, yeah,
indeed.
But anyhow, so yeah, let's see what you guys are talking about out there in the chat. We also got Pinochet's helicopter tour. He's been here for 35 months. That's almost 3 years, right? Jeez.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
No, this is awesome. Thank you.
Also says with $5, says, no news. I tagged you on X and I called it. Yesterday, the FTC made it illegal to brigade, criticize, or complain about corporations with fake reviews. Yeah, I saw a little bit about that. I didn't get a chance to really get into it, though, to really review it. I've been busy working all damn day. That's part of the reason why I don't have anything prepared for the show.
So does that mean they made it illegal for us to complain that they're posting false reviews themselves, or they can't complain about fans posting reviews? What does that mean? Like,
That's
is
the
it good
thing.
for us or bad for us? Is it good for the corporations?
me see if I can find the thing.
Yeah, I was gonna.
Problem is, I get tagged in so much stuff, Pinochet. Let me see if I can find
Whatever it is, I expect it's bad for us, good for corporations.
It's not a bad thing necessarily, but it's hard to find things sometimes. And you're under Pinochet, I assume, on Twitter as well.
Oh, hey. Now, I guess if we want to bring in another Alien Romulus thought, so obviously we had God, who was in the chat? I'm sorry, I forgot what's his face. Patrick Robinson and Epic Mike on Twix. Gary commented about it as well. He said a very average movie goes full retard in the third act. So if I had to guess from what Gary's logic is, that sounds like he's probably going to give it probably around like a 7. Sounds like he enjoyed it like fairly well until whatever happened in the third act. That
you know what though? Usually a third act will ruin a movie for me worse than a shitty beginning.
Yeah.
And why would you ever rate something with a terrible third act at a 7? Like 7 is
I'm just guessing. I could
That's
be
his
wrong.
guess,
I'm just guessing. I could be wrong.
See, that's where I'm at. Like, I'll forgive a terrible beginning if the second and third act, bring it home. But if you're like running on all cylinders for the first 2 acts and that third act goes completely off the fucking rails, that'll ruin a movie for me. That'll go from an 8 or 9 straight down to a 3 or 4 instantly.
Which is why I don't use a number system at all, because it's like, how do you properly aggregate that? I basically just point out to you, great, good, bad, awful, what the hell?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of like the recommend, don't recommend kind of system. And that's kind of how I used to work at the video store, though. But I would always see my problem, and this is where it got tough for me to review films getting into this space. Because I kind of had to, when I first started, I did like written reviews in like the school paper and shit like that. Mm-hmm. But then when I quit doing that and I was working in video stores, I had to basically gauge the customer. So I had to review the movie to the customer, not for myself. Right. So even if I didn't like something, didn't mean that I knew Joe Blow was going to like it though. Right. So that's the difference, is I would have to say, yeah, this is what you'll like about it. Or you'll like this, blah, 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 blah. But that doesn't mean I'm going to recommend, somebody else, a horror film that I would recommend, somebody else, or so. So I would kind of gauge I kind of knew my customer base. I kind of knew who they were when they would ask things. And I really would just review them they would each get their own individual reviews, is what I'm trying to say in so many words.
I mean, that's what you do as a video store. I worked there all the time. I knew the people that they liked all the American Pies and the Uwe Boll stuff. I'm like, okay, I know what type of movies you'll like. I know what will make you happy. So I will recommend you the stuff that's in that. I would never in life a day recommend it to a person that doesn't like that type of stuff or wants to see something with a bit more, thought involved in it. But you gotta, I mean, that's part of the job. You just have to kind of figure out, when your customer is asking you for a recommendation, they're not saying, what do you like? They're saying, what do you think I would like? And that's a big difference.
Yeah. Okay. So thank you, Brian, for finding this, because I was trying to find Pinochet's link here.
And Pinochet probably knows more about it, but it says on the surface, the FTC's new ruling focuses on banning fake reviews and testimonials, targeting businesses that pay for positive feedback or use generative AI to make false testimonials. But also a provision that bans fake social media indicators, including view botting. So creators that buy fake views and followers to pump up the results for a commercial reason. So that's on the surface in a couple of paragraphs. Obviously, you'd have to read the actual rulings to know the details.
Finer details, to see what loopholes are still available for this to still operate.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think there are exceptions.
Fake reviews and testimony. Well, okay. Well, this doesn't seem to bother us so much as it would bother the people that work at
I find it hard to believe that the FTC would do anything that would harm their friendly corporates,
but this would okay. So basically, for an example, when we reported, what was it, like a half a year ago or whatever, that we heard that basically to get a good review on Rotten Tomatoes, it costs $50.
Yeah.
This would be cracking down on something like that if they were to get busted. You're
yes,
right.
Because essentially this would probably be an addendum to the false advertising laws, right?
I would imagine so, yeah.
But it does focus on the fact that if you're doing it in order to increase your commercial gain, then you're in trouble.
Yeah.
I guess you could say, well, I did it, but I don't make any money out of this because it's not monetized or it's whatever. They wouldn't care. If there's money to be made, and like YouTube themselves could say, if you did it on YouTube, they could say, well, we're going to withhold your monetary your due because it's fake views.
Yeah, that's where I see this being a problem for us, is they could try and turn it against us. But at the end of the day, the problem with this, and this is we've talked about before, is when we talk about these paid off reviewers, as we say that, I actually have to do air quotations because they're not, until we got the report about the literal $50 being paid. Before that, the best we could do is say, look, we can't prove that they're actually being paid cash or anything else as far as monetarily. But what we can prove is they're given access and they're given goodies and other certain things and amenities. And that we can see with, what was it, Christian Harloff, who was going off about the Star Wars Disneyland or Disney World deal.
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about there, is we could always prove that kind of shit at least, or at least with a beyond a shadow of a doubt that there's some kind of payola going on in the form of, access and, you get to see this shit early.
Well,
and
it's like basically a journalistic per
and,
diem,
yeah,
so to speak. It's like,
but it's above and beyond the normal. Yeah.
Schmoozing, swag bags, all those types of stuff. Like, they're all promotional things. They're classified as, they're for everybody that shows up to the event, whether you're a critic or not. So that's how you get around those areas of bias and manipulation. But I mean, everybody knows what it really is.
And I don't think it should ever become the case that hospitality or things like that for launching a movie or an event are made illegal. They've got to market it somehow, and hospitality on its own, hey, let's come and have a couple of drinks and watch this movie, is that a bad thing? Not necessarily.
In and of itself, no, right? It's the extras, it's the expectation, right? And not only that, it's the unwritten, in obvious most cases, where it's like, okay, you're expected to give it this review or run with these bullet points that we give you. An implied contract, as long as you give it run with these running points and don't give it a bad review. Because if you give it a bad review, what's going to happen is you're not going to be allowed at the next press event.
Which in itself could then be seen to be problematic under certain regulations, because you're being punished.
But Disney's done it. That's the thing. And they've gotten away with it so many times in the past.
Well, I think that's what Pinochet's point is in his last message, his last chat there.
Yeah.
If Disney and consumers both go to the FTC over a paid discovered bots, whose side does the FTC take? So the cynics amongst us would say, well, we're pretty sure they'll take Disney's side.
Well, and this kind of that's the problem. And that's where I was saying before, is I could see them using this against us in some convoluted way, but it would be real tough to come after some of it, unless you're doing false testimonials. Like, okay, AI to make false
Yeah, and are they going to stretch the definition of this view botting, which, to be honest, I've never heard that term.
I've heard about it, but I wouldn't know where to start or begin how to do it. So
the way they talk about it here, it's content creators who are buying fake views, but somebody might equally turn around and say, we think all these negative reviews are view botting, and we're going to go after somebody for it.
Okay, I'll give you, I'm not going to say a name, but I do know a YouTuber that I follow that I found it very fishy, along with a bunch of other people, that they, like, over the course of just like a month or so, doubled their subscription base. And there was a lot of people throwing accusations. No, it wasn't you. It was, I wouldn't say they were a bigger YouTuber, but they were probably mid-level-ish at best. But if they're a niche YouTuber, I'm not going to say what niche they are. I'm not going to say who they are.
Is it naked yoga?
It's not me, though.
It's not. It's naked yoga. So that's script doctor.
It's naked yoga, script doctors, naked yoga, which is really sad because it's just a white silhouette most of the time. Right. But
but you can see the definition, which is what made it blow up.
Yes. But anyhow, in actuality though, no. And I noticed this and I'm like sitting here going, look, I know this guy and I don't think he's a bad dude, but even I had to be like, that's rather fucking sus.
Yeah.
It's super fucking sus. Now, I don't know how they did it, but you have a lot of people accusing them of that at this point, and I can't defend them.
Maybe they've just got a very wide extended family.
You're saying that there's YouTubers that buy views?
It's more like they buy subscribers, and these bots that view the videos basically prices what the...
You know, I feel bad for saying this, but there were cases in the past few years that I ran into people that I thought that may be the case. I don't want to think that of people, but there have been a few cases that seemed strange to me as well. But maybe it's, I always say to myself, I don't want to be one of those people like that I appear jealous or something. I mean, I'm happy for somebody's success, but when something is so meteoric and quick and you don't really see the reason for it and something about the numbers don't add up, then I don't know. I've seen cases like that.
Yeah, Price, I don't want to be one of those people, at least until I see the check. See the size of the check, then I'll decide. No, just kidding.
I got you. Nobody gave me a check. Nobody
gave me a check.
No, but you know what? I'll get. I shouldn't say anything. I'll say it. Sometimes you have somebody and like they have like 100,000 subscribers or something, and then they're doing something and their numbers are really low. So you think to yourself, do they really have all those subscribers? If they did, then why aren't they doing anything?
Well, I know. Let's go ahead, Brian.
No, I was just going to say, sorry, Tom, that I mean, one indicator obviously is if someone suddenly gathers hundreds of thousands of subscribers, but their view count on their videos and streams is low, then that's a bit weird. But,
yeah, it's hard to tell with that stuff because sometimes, especially if it's people on our corner, we know there's a lot of shadow banning that goes on. Some of it's legitimate, and there's some where you're like, how does so and so have this? Well, you're thinking, okay, I know it's shadow banning, but how could it be that bad? Like, there's some channels where I've even seen, let's just say, we'll say there's a channel that has, I think, around 70 or 80K subs. And their videos get in the hundreds.
That's
There's
weird.
something not that. Now that's weird. Even if you factor in the shadow banning, that still doesn't add up. And at that point, I don't think you can even blame the shadow banning at that point. There's a fine line with that.
Yeah, when you get watching some of these, you click on a video and it's got 50,000, 100,000 views on it, but yet 3 comments.
Right.
Oh yeah.
I've seen those
and then
too.
You have the other side where I've noticed where like certain YouTubers, and again, I'm not going to say names, but have maybe 2,000-3,000 times what we got here on MEAD specifically. And we're fortunate that you guys show up as you do every Tuesday and Thursday. But I mean, basically the point I'm getting to is on our live streams, we get just as many or more in some cases viewers with not even a third or less of a third than their subscriber base. So that doesn't compute. Right. So yeah, there's all sorts of sides to that. But then to me, I see this as a positive of stopping anybody who's trying to manipulate, for positive reviews for Rotten Tomatoes. But as Pinochet's pointing out, I don't see them using it that way.
Yeah, and on the surface it looks positive, but I mean, who's going to have the mythical standing for this? I mean, just because we see it happening or suspect it doesn't mean we could complain about it. I suspect it's more someone like a corporation that has to pay out money to somebody who they suspect is inflating the views themselves.
And at the end of the day, I could see somebody like some of the more corporate style YouTubers. Again, I'm not going to name names because I don't need anybody coming after me for slander or libel or anything like that. But let's just say, some of these ones that we normally do associate with the corporate, message, it's the same thing with them. It's like they have all these, in some cases, 1 million or plus subscribers, yet there's more people watching us right now. Than when they're live, or even we have like close to half the audience. They don't or nobody even trusts them anymore. So it's like what they're doing is just watching them as like a train wreck or what?
Yeah, I mean, you can have a wide subscription base, but as some people mentioned in the chat, it doesn't mean that people are necessarily watching you. They're dead. Snowdub said they're dead subscribers. They subscribe, they move on. Whereas we have a dedicated audience.
Yeah, no, that happens sometimes too. It could be that somebody started a YouTube channel 10 years ago and he did a video that there was a cat taking a dump and everybody loved it. And he got like 100,000 subscribers and none of them are, they're empty, like Snowdub says, they're empty subs or whatever you want to call them. But I'm talking more about ones that I've more recently seen that suddenly you see. There's one I don't want to say who it is or anything, but there's one that really skyrocketed in a way that didn't seem represented by the numbers on the channel.
I've seen about 3 of those that happened up just in the last year.
And
all I can say is the reason I know for a fact the reason I'm not the largest channel on YouTube is because of shadow banning.
But you do have the largest cock. That's all that matters.
That's true. Yes. So suck it.
I may not have the biggest channel, but I definitely got the biggest rod.
I have the longest kill.
You have
to
Gown,
accommodate for
actually.
that,
That's
huh?
what I heard. It's a gown because it's that long.
It's a gown. Shit. Now I got my alarm going off in the other room here. Now,
Nice.
Six sent me a few stories here we can go over. Plus, we got this crow clip. Now the the crow clip will probably end up getting clipped out because I'm sure it'll get claimed.
Yeah,
that's a lot of CLs in a row there. If you didn't notice that, for me, my stutter, that was pretty good. Or we can get into some of the Paramount news. I know that you had a few questions about that, Brian. Otherwise,
Well,
there was.
I was just trying to clear up the position of Paramount Plus, because obviously it's still producing stuff to be streamed on that streaming platform. I'm assuming that is continuing as of now.
Yeah, basically all the productions that were under Paramount Television are just moving over to CBS Studios.
It's more of a
To
production.
be more accurate, it's a consolidation and then a reduction of the old name. That's basically it.
Okay. Yeah.
It's basically like legally cutting the fat as opposed to having two companies that do the same thing. They just turned into one and they tossed out the other name, which they, I guess, assumed was less valuable than CBS.
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously, we've got the Tulsa King is going to be on Paramount Plus. The next. Well, actually, Reacher was on Amazon, wasn't it? Although it was a Paramount production.
It's a Paramount and Skydance production, but it was it's distributed by or broadcast by Amazon. Yes,
and it's going to be moving to CBS. I think.
Kind of like how Yellowstone went to Peacock and all that stuff first. But I said this the other day, script, and correct me if I'm wrong. Basically, like I said, unless the show gets canceled, which I don't think any of them are from what we've heard, basically nobody will notice anything on the production. It's all going to be in the office suite side of things, basically. Like,
yeah, basically
the corporate
it's just,
side of
it's
things.
the higher ups that I mean, a number of them are actually moving over to Paramount, and I know a little bit about this just because one of the shows, the show that I got I developed earlier this year that's on the circuit right now, was negotiating with Paramount Television, and now looks like it's going to be the negotiating is going to be starting with CBS, but not until late this year. So we're now delayed 9 months as opposed to the initial 6 that we thought. So apparently, a lot of the same staffers from Paramount Productions, television productions, are going over to CBS, and they're just kind of like consolidating everything and reorganizing it. And some overlap is going to be discarded, which means like a number of executives that do the same job over at CBS, they're going to rate the success levels, and then that's going to determine whether they stick around or not. And then they'll be pushed out. And probably for a lot of shows that didn't perform, unlike say Reacher or Tulsa King or any of the Taylor Sheridan shows, those people are going to be sticking around. The stuff that didn't work, they'll be the ones that are gone. And that's going to, streamline a little bit of things. But it's going to be a little bit bittersweet because even though it's essentially going to be built off the bones of Paramount Television, Paramount Television is going to be gone until, one day they decide to start it up again. Who knows if TV is still going to survive in the next 100 years.
Do you want to know my prediction of what's going on here? I mean, and I don't think.
Well,
you
I think
here
your prediction is that once Skydance takes over, they're going to sell CBS to Warner Brothers.
Yep, that's why they're consolidating and moving all this shit around. That's why I think they are, because Warner Brothers is doing some similar shit.
My prediction is that Shari Redstone there is going to finally complete her transformation into a mannequin.
Are you her father?
Yeah.
She's kind of slowly becoming her dad, it looks like.
Yeah.
But we got this new news. It's kind of a wrinkle. Six sent this over to me. Edgar Bronfman Jr. is prepping a bid for Paramount. So now if this happens, this will then set in motion a different set of things to go on here. So let's read through this here. As the August 21st deadline looms, because I was going to say, this is not that far away. They're close to the 45-day window. Yeah. For other parties to make a run at Paramount or forever hold their peace, the Wall Street Journal reports that Edgar Bronfman Jr., that is a bad name, dude.
Edgar Bronfman Jr. presents.
Edgar Bronfman, yeah. Bronfman. It should really be a
Bronfman?
PH there. That'd be easier for us to
Yes.
phonetically pronounce.
Bronfman. It probably does
Bronfman.
sound more like that. Yeah.
Charles
Has not-
Bronfman.
Is not excited that the Paramount scene, but is in talks with investors preparing a bid.
Excited
I think
was
this is
better.
Yeah, I know. 'Cause I think didn't he work for Paramount or something? I'll probably get into it here. I was gonna say, 'cause I think I heard something about this earlier. Yeah. The stock, which frequently jumps about on news like this, is up nearly 8%. The other potential acquirers like Barry Diller's IAC have dropped by the wayside, given the size and complexity of the business combination, which seemed to leave the path clear for Skydance. David Ellison's company, backed by Oracle co-founder Larry Ellison and Gary, he spells it like Geary.
Geary.
Gary.
Is it Jerry or is it?
I mean,
Geary?
no, it's Gary. Yeah, it's Gary.
Geary Cardinals Redbird Capital announced the circa 8 billion multi-step transaction in July, but with the so-called go shop period of 45 days for Hardefield. This is just going through all the normal shit. Okay, so the Wisconsin State Journal says that dude, heir to the Seagram. Oh, so Seagram's might be getting back into the movie business.
Booze again.
Wow.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Golden wine
Been out for
cooler.
like God, how long?
They didn't. Who was they on before?
They were
Was it
Canadians,
Universal?
weren't they? No, I don't know.
I'm trying to remember who did Seagram's own before. Was it?
You remember when Bruce Willis made commercials for Seagram
Yes.
for their
I can't
golden
remember,
wine?
but
Yeah, it
cooler?
was
Is that-
Universal. Yeah. 'Cause
Yeah,
they
it's
owned MCA.
Universal. Yeah,
Yeah.
Universal.
Because Kenny owned Warner Brothers at the time, right? Yes. Okay, so yeah, it has to be Universal. So that's been
So it's MCA, and that owns music too, of course. Lots of music.
that's kind of
Seagram's
recent.
ginger
Yeah, that
ale?
was
Am
back
I-
in the 80s, I think. Yeah.
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 Is Seagram's ginger ale, or am I confusing something here?
No, they make a ginger ale, I think.
Yes, they make. Well, they're Canadian initially. I don't know if they're still.
Yeah, they're a Canadian
corporation.
company. Yeah.
Yep.
The Crown wasn't Crown Royal all their stuff. Seagram's.
Maybe.
Well, I don't know
Yeah.
if they still are a Canadian corporation, because that would also cause an issue with. Wouldn't that be the same problem that Sony ran into?
Well,
No.
They couldn't own CBS.
No, because
Or is it just North
Canadian
America?
companies have actually owned Hollywood before for decades. Oddly enough, Kinney Company is a Canadian company. It owned Warner Brothers for a long time.
Yeah, but they could just set up an interim American corporation with practically
Well,
the same name in between.
You can start a Canadian corporation, then you can do an international expansion, which allows you to actually own other companies in other countries that are violating international law. You just actually end up having additional tax filings to do. So that's usually how it's done. And in fact, actually, one of the companies that technically owns AT&T is a Canadian company.
So anyway, this guy is the heir to
Yeah.
the Seagram family fortune and a former media executive and the head of Warner Music. He already has that kind of going for him. Has had talks about joining forces with players like Roku, Fortress Investment Group, and Hollywood producer Stephen Paul, who earlier in the process had put together a consortium for a bid that didn't go anywhere. The difference now is that Paul and others, including Ellison, were initially eyeing the acquisition of only Sherry Redstone's controlling stake in Paramount, which would give them ownership of the company for more like $3 billion without having to buy all in. That's not on the cards anymore. I gotta make this a little bigger. Sorry, guys. That's what she said. In any deal that comes in now would have to offer more to CBS shareholders than Skydance has. Okay, that's also interesting. Shareholders aren't all thrilled with the Skydance deal, which calls for Skydance to first acquire Sherry's stake in Paramount, as well as a Class A voting shares and a chunk, but not all of, the Class B common stock. Paramount would then acquire Skydance in an all-stock deal that would dilute current shareholders of the company, which will still be publicly traded. So basically, if I'm getting this correctly, the upper people who own like the big stocks will get some money, but anybody in the lower end will just basically be losing out.
Yeah, most likely, yes. So your A tier stockholders, they'll get a nice little, mostly like a dividend, and then the B levels will get nothing. They'll get whatever the stock value is, and if it depreciates as a result of changing ownership, they'll end up losing the value of that stock until the company bounces back. If it does, considering the horrible infrastructure that Paramount currently is operating under.
I wouldn't count on that under Skydance.
Yeah, probably right.
So that's probably why they're so pissed. They're like, I'm going to lose all whatever money I put into this company. And what would and this is where I wish Mikey was here, somebody who knew this. Like, so what would be considered a Class B stock, or how much?
So the Class B stocks are the publicly traded stuff, and the Class A stocks are the privately traded stuff.
Okay, so
you have to have like a certain access in order to get Class A stocks.
Gotcha. Okay, so see, there we go. The more Tom knows. So yeah, basically anybody who has personal stock in it that's not part of the company, basically already.
Yeah, it's kind of weird because stock ownership is essentially like public ownership, right? So
yeah,
and then they've separated into two tiers for public and private, which is weird for me. Is that because I was actually like earlier this year I was thinking about buying some Paramount stock, and I had to go through all the I didn't luckily, but I had to go through all the rigmarole to figure out like, well, what do you mean by Class A and Class B? And yeah, do you have access to this? Do you have these types of accounts? Do you have this type of collateral? All these types
basically
of
non-voting stock type situation.
Yeah, essentially non.
That's a lot of people who would be losing money if it doesn't bounce back, like you said.
Yeah, and it's going to take a long time for Paramount to bounce back. And probably a little bit longer if it's Skydance, even though. Aside from like the film productions that they're doing, the stuff that they're doing for TV has actually been a lot more successful than their films. And that's
and Mikey might have explained some of this before, but it just probably went over my head. But I just got to say, this guy's distracted me in the chat. This has got to be one of the greatest names ever. The ghost of John Wick's. I just love your name. I just wanted to stop the show, tell you that I love your name. And yeah, I've been reading around. Seagram's was actually bought out by Vivendi.
Well, it was bought by Diageo, and then they sold some of the stuff to So not sure. Is this Bronfman buying it with his own money?
So he's just I would assume that basically this is just because he's in the family. He gets he's an heir to the.
So another rich billionaire heir is trying to step into this dumb thing along with other rich billionaires.
But it's almost kind of, I wonder if it's getting back into the family business of sorts. If his family was close to it when they were working with Universal or not, I wonder. But
well, I'll put it to you this way: it actually relieves a number of legal and trust headaches if a company that is not in the entertainment industry is buying another company that is. That makes things a lot simpler, paperwork wise, legally wise, everything, because you don't have to worry about FTC violations, controlling interests, dilution of diversity, risk of monopoly, all those types of things completely vanish when you have a third party that's doesn't own any media company buying a media company. And
Sherry Redstone wants to go home. I don't believe it.
So yeah, in this situation here, to kind of finish this part of it up, it basically is saying that Bronfman's deal would benefit shareholders a little bit more. It sounds like.
What would happen to Sherry Redstone? My theory is that she's doing everything to ruin all of these deals. She doesn't want to go anywhere.
Oh, I agree with you. I think, I don't think she's so much set out to ruin them, but she wants a deal that's going to benefit her first and foremost. And her other big things that I can gather from what we're getting out of this is she does not want the company split up, but I don't think she's going to.
That one she might not win. Yeah.
And doesn't she probably want to still have some title, something? I feel like she doesn't just want to get up and leave.
Well, she hasn't really been very active much at the company. So part of me is wondering if she's actually given up already. And she's like, the only fight I'm sticking in for is, number one, I get the best deal I can. Number two, the legacy that I have done to restore Paramount after my dumbass father broke it up stays restored.
Maybe you're right. Maybe it's only a matter of legacy now and money, a payout and legacy, maybe. But I always kind of envision that she's that type that doesn't want to go anywhere, doesn't want to leave, has a big ego, and probably is torpedoing every single deal that we've talked about over the past year.
See, I would agree to that if she was more active, but she's been so passive, right?
You're right.
Because again, person that doesn't want to leave, they usually try to do a lot of stuff. Like take a look at J.J. Abrams. He doesn't want to leave, and he's trying to pitch everything under the sun as he can, and everybody's telling him no. So,
no is not the only word associated with that.
And Brian has to go, and I know he wanted to kind of finish I can't give you, and I don't think Script and I can give you a definitive answer of what's going to happen, but I think we can kind of speculate on, depending on if CBS, I think it depends on where CBS ends up.
Yeah.
If they stick with it, Paramount Plus, all that business, I don't think is going anywhere. If Warner Brothers ends up buying it out, they'll end up finishing out whatever contracts they have. But at that point, I think it's going to be a big question of whether or not Paramount Plus stays a Paramount streaming network or it just gets swallowed up by Max.
Yeah, swallowed up by Max.
And again, it all depends on if somebody else buys it. We have no idea.
Yeah.
Oh God! Just imagine it. If that happens in 3 years, we could have Paramount Max as opposed to a streaming service.
Could be, and that's another thing. They could just conglomerate, and it would be, because we're already seeing the early start,
the bundling. Yep, we're already seeing.
And we've heard rumors of there's like this talk of Max and Paramount Plus combining in some way. So that might be. This is why I've been speculating this.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things that just keep lining up that are going. I feel like Skydance is going to buy the Paramount side of things, and then they're going to sell off CBS to Warner Brothers, so that way Warner Brothers has their NFL deal, and then the other cable channels that they'll bring in, and I think that's another reason why they're shifting stuff around with Cartoon Network and Boomerang. Because correct me if I'm wrong, Script. I don't know how many channels you can own under a certain kind of, because they once they buy that, if they buy that whole deal, they will own like 3 times as many cable networks as any other company. So I don't think they can. So I think they're going to start to conglomerate down.
Either selling off the properties or merging them into smaller.
And that's what I was thinking. So like Nickelodeon, that's worth a hell of a lot more than Boomerang to them.
Yeah,
Cartoon Network already does what Boomerang does.
Nickelodeon would technically absorb Boomerang, and then everything that's not valued at Boomerang would just be discarded, sold off, or completely shuttered. Yeah, I mean,
that's
again,
just
we're in
one
a
example,
new generation. Like it's still. It's no longer the wild west of streaming. It's now like a Cold War, where it's basically like, these are the players. Which ones are we going to take out and absorb? Without it being like, a hot divisive argument with on the stock market side of things, and also with consumers. Like, it's going to be so subtle over the next 5 years or so that by the time it's all said and done, we'll probably end up having 3 quote unquote network streamers, and then your whole bunch of your essentially affiliate streamers, like your Pluto and your Tubies and all those types of things. It'll literally be an on-demand model of the cable network system that we all grew up watching as kids.
The future is the past is the future.
Now the thing that's funky now, if this deal goes through with Edgar Bronfman, the name we can't seem, the Seagram's guy.
Edgar Bronfman.
We're just gonna call him the Seagram's guy.
Just call him the Brom Man.
Yeah, the Brom Man. I seen Roku was named as one of the companies that would be involved with his little group here that would be getting together to buy. So that makes me wonder too what Roku's up to, because they're kind of a mover and shake. Do they have like a streaming service per se, or are they just the carrier at this point? Somebody,
I think they're a carrier because
didn't they release? But then again, they released that Weird Al movie, and I'm trying, because that's one of the reasons I got a Roku for Christmas from 6.
Yeah, they're all, because they've been around almost as long as Hulu has, but they
do have a service, I'm assuming.
They kind of do. They're a distributor of sorts, but they've only been dabbling in production recently.
Yeah, because I remember getting it for that, but I'm trying to remember, did I have to, I think I just signed, I think it's free as long as I had the Roku thing.
So on that happy note, though, I will have to drop out. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, chat.
Yeah, thank you.
70s.
Hopefully see you all on Comics Division later tonight, Thursday night.
Sure.
Until then, stay frosty.
Bottoms up.
Bottoms up.
That's the thing. You're right. We've got so many streaming services now. But yeah, that's got me kind of concerned with that part, because I do not want any of these streaming services any more than, I don't like that Amazon bought MGM, but if anybody, like, MGM was barely a fucking company anymore. So that didn't bother me as much, but I do not want like Netflix or one of these other companies buying in to, Paramount or anybody else for that matter, Warner Brothers, anything like that. I don't like that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we don't want tech companies buying entertainment, because history now has shown us that tech companies are terrible at marketing entertainment. So we really want people in like the actual industry of selling stuff. Because tech isn't something you sell. Tech is something you upgrade, I guess, would be the more appropriate thing. You've already bought it. Now you just got to keep upgrading, and throwing away the old stuff. Whereas everything else, whether it's food, clothes, real estate property, it's more of an effort to try and get people to, fork over their money for it, because it's not a shiny thing. It's an investment. Aside from food.
Yeah, it has MGM Plus streaming service, and I have no idea why. Yeah, that was the weird thing. I can't believe Amazon didn't shut that down when they took over. It was just weird. Or did they start that? I can't remember.
Or roll it into their Prime service.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's the other thing too. Putin's cat is right that Roku does have it built into TVs and shit now, and they have their own TV brand now, I guess. But yeah, no. Let's see what you guys are talking about here. We got through that now. Pinochet, thank you for that. You also brought out that Weaver was on Anti-2A crusade during Alien 3. Okay, so this is back on the Alien 3 bit. Yeah, she was part of the problem with that production. Because do you guys remember the teaser trailer we got for Alien 3 for a movie we never got?
Huh?
Yeah, the Earth trailer. The original teaser trailer for Alien 3 teased that the aliens were coming to Earth.
It did?
Yes. Let me see if I can find that on YouTube.
I don't remember that. Then again, I think I was like 4 or 5.
Yeah, it actually came out like almost 2 years for the movie. It's got to be on here because
Aliens on Earth.
That's basically what it was setting up. Yeah, I think this is it here. Let me see. Oh, no, that's not it. That just shows a egg. Is it? Yeah, here it is. Because you can actually see the Earth underneath the egg.
Oh, I didn't know that about Sigourney. Yeah.
In 1979, we discovered in space, no one can hear you scream. In 1992, we would discover on Earth, everyone can hear you scream.
Yeah, so everybody thought it was going to be on Earth.
Wow, yeah, I can see why they would. But I never actually seen that trailer before. Wow.
Did they actually
they're
just
finally
change
gonna
their
get here.
plan?
Wow.
I don't know if that was just a misconception of the audience or if because that movie went through so many different versions before the one we finally got, because it was even supposed to be a wooden planet at one point.
Yeah, an artificial planet that was made out of wood.
and bringing them to Earth would have made sense budget wise, right? Because then you're saving yourself because you got to kind of make it look a little futuristic because it's supposed to be in the era of. It was supposed to be them getting home. I think that was the initial plan, or at least that's what people assumed, is they get back and one of them's impregnated with one of the aliens or whatever. Or
And the movie was shit at the end anyways, so nothing helped it.
Yeah. And then before he left, Brian dropped a milestone for 39 months. Thank you for that, Brian, and thank you for being here. Sergeant Point Blank sends in 5 and says, "Will this be better than Alien Resurrection or ABB2?" Oh, I'm pretty sure of that. I don't think that's a big hurdle to
Yeah, see,
that's a low bar.
That's the part that concerns me is that type of argument, because it's not something you want to be known for.
Well, going off of Gary's response to it, and I'm not trying to downplay anybody's response in the chat or anybody who did enjoy it quite a bit, because that's fine if you did. But I think we've reached a point now where we've gotten so used to things not only being woke, but just being so bad that mediocre stuff right now is okay.
Yeah, I could see why,
Yeah.
and I see why. But that's the thing, when you go for that argument, you're setting a new low bar, and that gives them the leeway to make the bar even lower when you settle for that. You gotta always go for what's the best thing we could be aiming for. How high can we go in the sky with this type of stuff? Can we try to do our best to reach the heights of aliens? And even if you don't succeed, at least you're going for that. I rather have us go for that, because to me it's a little scary when I see those types of arguments. Well, it's better than this, and obviously it's not just happened with aliens. I've seen it happen with obviously Marvel Phase 4 and 5 as well. It's not stuff we want to aspire to at all in any IP, movie, etc.
No, it's what I say all the time. You always want to measure yourself against the best. I mean, that's the first rule of Hollywood.
Yes.
It's like, oh, you think you're better than all the other crappy writers out there? Well, congratulations. Wonderful. Doesn't mean we're going to give you money. You have to be better than the best people that are out there if you want to get money. And that's the method that I've kind of lived by. and I struggle to achieve all the time because it's really freaking hard to do that.
At least at least you're trying to go for it. I'd rather that you try to go for it and not always succeed. Better that than just settling for the low bar. And because once again, you settle for the new low bar, someone's going to create a new bottom of the barrel, and then the bar
Speaking
will be
of the new
lowered
low
once more.
bar,
Yeah, reverse limbo stick.
Yes.
Speaking of the new low bar, here's we got a clip from the. I'm gonna force y'all to watch this because I gotta watch it too. I haven't seen it yet.
Really
I mean,
boring.
I say this is like what the fuck.
Action,
you guys.
Fine, it's nothing that I hate, but nothing that's to write home about. However, his look as the Crow is outright awful. His look as the Crow is terrible.
Yes.
Well, it's lame. It's just there's nothing funny about it.
No, it looks like honestly
Like a
he looks more
cosplayer.
like Alice Cooper than he does the Crow. If
He
Alice
looks
Cooper
like a
had hair,
cosplayer. He
that
looks
would
like he
be-
went to a costume party.
Yeah. He looked like he tried to dress up as Alice Cooper, saying that he's a Crow, and he failed miserably at it.
Well, the thing is, you showed this still image, and no one's going to tell you what movie this is from, and that's the problem.
Yes,
that's
unlike
a big
the
problem.
Crow, anyone you could see an image from the Crow, and it's so distinct.
Instantly
Even if you don't like
recognizable.
the movie, you know that's a Crow. That's how distinct that look was for Brandon Lee. Brandon
There's
Lee
nothing
after
about this that invokes the Crow to me.
No, it just seems like regular action movie. Even for seeing his supernatural powers at play here.
Six really wants to see this, evidently.
Well, hey, if you want to see it,
I don't know if she's just joking or not.
No one here will stop you. If you want to see it, then by all means, see away.
To my nightmare. Want to know how I got these scars there? Okay, and then it just goes into the trailer. Okay. So at least it's not 5 minutes long. We just get 2 of the trailers. Good for them. Okay, fine, whatever. So just a minute and a half long clip there. That was only a minute and a half.
Boring.
It felt like 3 minutes.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, we paused it a little bit, but like it literally felt like 3 minutes. Like,
Well, the thing is, it was boring. Like, what's
badly cut.
It's like, oh, I've seen this. I've seen stuff similar to this, and like the head stabbings and all that stuff. Well, you see that in Game of Thrones more recently. Getting shot in the chest and stuff. Well, Platoon's a great example of that. It's like, you're showing me something different. Come on.
It feels like a John Wick movie, basically. That's all. So he can get shot. Well, so did John Wick with the bulletproof suits and shit all the time. That's where I kind of fell out of that stuff. It just kind of. And Brandon, yeah, he could take shots and stuff, but like they're overdoing it. Right? Like that was the thing is like when Brandon would take a shot, and I don't mean that like a literal drink shot. Like, I mean, when they would shoot him in the movie, like you had that great scene where like he puts his hand over the barrel, right?
Yeah.
And then he shoots it and he's like looking through it and he's laughing at him and stuff like that. Otherwise, the only time he takes a bunch of shots like that is when he's standing on the table.
And that
in
was
the headquarters.
the last time he took those, unfortunately.
Was it that scene or the other scene when he shoots him? Because I thought it was the guy who plays Fun Boy or whatever that actually shot him. I thought it was that scene when they're in the
I thought it was the same set
apartment
as that
building.
one there, where
You
he's
could
in
be
the-
right,
in
but
the
I thought it
office.
was the apartment building scene.
Hmm.
Because that actor actually, I think, didn't he commit suicide or something like that after all? Because he felt so guilty about all that shit. Can't remember now, but or that or he just like got really bad into drugs. One of the two, I can't remember. It's been a while since
I know he
looked into it.
dealt with depression for years afterwards.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, because he knew it was his gun that did it. So that's why I was saying I didn't think it was the. I think everybody assumed it was the scene that was that scene, but it turned out to be, I think, the scene where he ends up saving just before he saves the mother from the heroin overdose. Because I think it was when Fun Boy shoots him in the apartment there.
Hmm.
I could be wrong, but anyway. Let's see here. What else we got here? We got. Six sent me a few things we could have talked about.
Ooh, hot dog.
Well, he mentioned that Beetlejuice looks like it might be doing all right.
I don't know. I saw this one aspect of the trailer which didn't make sense at all to Beetlejuice, and that is there's a line that's saying like Delia is like a legend. I'm like, why is she a legend?
Because women.
It's like, Nobody in the rest of that town knew what was going on in that house, in the Maitland house. So why would she be a legend?
Yeah, that doesn't make sense. I do agree
Is there a
on
new
that
trailer I
script.
missed?
However, I think it's going to have a strong first weekend.
Oh, yeah, it will.
Obviously, because the audience is there. Before you arrive there, I said it's one of those movies that if there are youngins that are, if they had some movies that they are into, this is one of them. Particularly in like the goth type of scene. I have seen quite a few youngins that, even though we see them not be into movies as much and more to like TikTok, they seem to make an exception for Beetlejuice. So I'm sure they will benefit from that this movie has.
And they like Jenna Ortega.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's
they
another
do.
one. Yeah.
But the thing is, this is now going to be the largest property that Al Goff and Miles Miller have ever written and publicly released, because their first one was Smallville, their second one was Wednesday. Now we're getting into the theatrical side of things, and I'm sorry, guys, they're able to fool you once or twice, but I don't know if they're going to be able to do a really good Beetlejuice movie because they've never written feature films before like this.
You're probably right.
They're
probably
TV guys.
right
They're
on
TV
that.
guys that like teenage angsties. They're in their 60s and they talk right about teenage angst a lot. That's a troublesome aspect for me.
Right. I know, and I saw Wednesday. Did they write? Are they the ones that wrote Wednesday?
Yes.
That was just all right. I thought that it was it skated by on the fact that Jenna Ortega was pretty good in it, and it wasn't. The production wasn't poor, but there was a bit too much of that teeny weeny thing in there.
It
On
felt
the other
dated,
hand,
but at the same time feeling a little interesting.
but at the same time, there's so many young jerk-offs today that like Jenna Ortega and will just go see some movie where she's like an angsty
She's
teen.
kind of the it girl right now.
She's like the Timothy Chalamet, but in a woman
I've
format.
made that comparison. And look, I predicted this movie was going to open big. Jenna Ortega was a good on them. She was smart to put in it, with the hype and success off of Wednesday, Tim Burton's involvement in that, all that kind of shit. Moving into this, plus this is the movie that the internet made happen. I've been predicting for a while. Even if the movie's not that great, it's gonna have a great opening weekend.
It's not going to lose money. It's probably going to, at least if nothing else, it'll make back its money. It'll be number one the first weekend. Older people will go see it because of Michael Keaton and Beetlejuice and Tim Burton and whatever. Younger people will see it because they like Jenna Ortega and they saw Wednesday.
I wouldn't be surprised if this is a movie my dad even says something about wanting to see, which is
it's going to do fine and it's not going to
he
lose
liked
money.
the first one a lot, so. But we'll see. No, I think it's going to do fine. I don't expect any less.
I don't know if it's going to be any good, but it's going to do fine.
Yeah, but then there was this other story that was kind of weird. Not to jump into a different story already, but I saw it at the top again in the room. Amazon. For some reason, this seems perfect. Amazon is doing a Madden biopic or something, evidently.
So,
is it about the game? I think I heard about this a while ago, isn't it?
Okay, so if anyone has been watching my Scripts on Saturday show, I reviewed the screenplay called Madden.
Maybe you told me about it. Yeah,
I told you about this. So, Cameron Clark. Sorry, no, not that's not his name. Sorry. There's a lot of names thrown around here. So it is, yes, it's Cameron Clark wrote this screenplay back in 2022 and it got on the blacklist. It actually scored pretty high on the blacklist. And it looks like it's attracted attention by David L. Russell. Now, we reviewed this screenplay at the first episode of Scripts on Saturdays back in January. We reviewed this screenplay. And it had its highs and it had its lows. But it looks like David L. Russell liked it enough that he wanted to do the project. And he has now rewritten it. So hopefully he has corrected some of the issues that the screenplay had. But now he's also signed on a deal with Nick Cage to play John Madden, which is going to be quite a casting choice. I would not have expected that.
I didn't either.
And the thing is that if you listen, we did a live
All I can say is, boom, baby.
I can't wait to hear
Nicolas
Cage talk about a turducken. But so not only do I have three of my co-hosts actually each chimed in on this script because they actually really enjoyed it. They're also big fans of John Madden. So I've got 3 coverages of this screenplay. It's quite popular. So you can go check back. You can find out what it's about, what it really does, what it's going to do. And then hopefully if this movie actually does see the distance and gets released, you can actually compare it to the original screenplay and see the path from development all the way to conclusion. of this project here, because this one, it is a partial biopic and partial origin of EA games and their big title Madden.
So it's kind of like a mix between, like you said, a normal biopic and like Tetris kind of.
Yes, I would say that's a very.
That was
good
kind of what I
association.
remember you telling me. Was kind of like it was more along the lines of like the making of the game. Yeah.
Yeah, because it takes place over many years. So there are
they put some mustard on it.
Actually, it's more like the fact that Madden got really upset that in the beta of the game, it didn't have the full amount of players on the field because they didn't know how to program it that way, and he was freaking out because he wanted it to be the most accurate and authentic.
Not enough players on the field.
Just like that. Yeah.
Fuck this game. Fucking it, stupid ass. Change your name from Electronic Arts to Electronic Farts because it fucking stinks. We thought it was all over then. John hated the game.
Dun, dun, dun. As I had to be very fair and objective on this one, he is not, and I mean not anywhere near the ideal casting for playing John Madden. However, because it is him playing it, it does have a chance at least being entertaining. Because
I see why they picked him. And now somebody told me, I forgot who it was that was originally cast, but like, this is ingenious. Like this, yes.
Oh no,
nobody else can pull this off.
I do want to see it. Make no mistake about what I'm saying. I want to see this. I just don't find.
I don't
it
care if it's true
ideal.
or not, but there's got to be a scene where he's sitting there. He's like playing the game and he's having fun finally. And, in that moment when the momentum's picking up, and if this scene is in the movie script, please tell me. And he's just sitting there going, boom, baby. Hey, he put some mustard on that. And the guy goes, you know what the game is missing? Yes, more Maddenisms. And that's when they start recording.
Well, there is a scene where he's recording the Maddenisms. Now, how they get there was not in the script, but it'd be funny.
No, they need that scene. That's quintessential. I don't care if it really fucking happened or not.
So one of the aspects of the script is that the programmers are trying to program football, but they don't really understand the game. So he has to teach the programmers how to play football. So he ends up coaching the programmers.
Football, you've never played it.
Oh no,
teach
there's absolutely a funny scene in the script where Madden is explaining football on a chalkboard with the X's and O's, and the programmers keep calling him hugs and kisses, and he doesn't understand why.
What the hell is going on here? You keep talking about hugging and kissing. You're a bunch
what hugs
or
or
something.
kisses are going on?
I'm in a room surrounded by a bunch. What the hell?
I hope this movie happens. I really want this to happen.
I want
it can
this
be
to happen, too.
hilarious.
That's gonna boost my first episode of the show.
No shit. I'm already ready to go check that out now.
I mean, well, again, this is the one things why I decided to do the show is like I keep getting screenplays, and within 2 years after I read them, some of them get into put into production. I'm like, let's do a show about that. Let's get everybody that wants to hear about movies and what's going on in Hollywood, and actually find, hey, this is kind of it may be a biopic pick, but it's an original. It's not adaptation on anything, right? It's not an existing IP. I mean, aside from Madden being existing IP, it's a different type of existing IP. It's like, hey, now we're giving a film version of this guy here. And even though a lot of bets were in place that the stand-up comedian that made his living impersonating John Madden was probably going to do the role, they decided to go in a more interesting direction with Nick Cage, who I think would knock this out of the park.
This also needs one of those inspirational scenes.
Well, it does have a subplot between him and his son, kind of like, getting on the same page.
No.
Apparently
Where
his
he's
son's
talking to EA and he's like, football's not just a game. It's a war. It's a war on a field where men face men. And the pigskin, it's not just a football. It represents freedom and all that good shit that it's America. It's like a hot dog and freedom and apple pie all wrapped into one, and it tastes like fucking freedom. That's what freedom tastes like.
You missed it. It's supposed to be like a chicken inside a turkey inside of a...
It's like a turducken. And you make this game right. It'll be victory on the field and in the home consoles. I can imagine 25 years from now, We're still playing this game! Because you won the day! Now get your asses out there and make this game! Do it for me! Do it for God and country! Hell, do it for the little lady waiting at home to smack her ass and boom, baby! Bend her over the sink and do those dishes, honey! Yeah! 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 All night! Where was I? Oh, yeah! Fucking A, do the game! Make me some money! Boom! Turducken!
I feel like that's actually going to be the movie.
It would be funny if that movie was brilliant if it was, but I don't know if David
straight
Russell
up
really does
wrote
that tone.
the script. You straight up wrote the dialogue right now for this. They better use this and give you royalties.
Freedom!
I'm gonna have a heart attack.
That was perfect.
And he put some stank on it too.
Seriously, you need to make that as a video for me.
I'll sell the hell out of this.
No, you got to
movie.
clip that, obviously.
Yeah, that needs to be clipped.
or if anything, clip it, then re-record it clean so that it can be like this impassioned thing.
So the one thing that has me kind of worried about this movie is David O. Russell. Okay, because he is he's a legend in Hollywood. Now, if you don't know who he is, I'm sure most of you do, but he has directed things like Three Kings, American Hustle, that newer one with the Hollywood Business, Fighter. But he's not known for getting along with his cast, right?
He tries to do the same thing that James Cameron does with control over his productions. So yeah, that's it's gonna be interesting. It's gonna be interesting.
You have no idea how
movie was like Silver Lining Playbook, right? So
he's got Silver Lining. Well, as far as movies that his best ones, probably between American Hustle and maybe that. But you know, like he's got those stinkers, like Amsterdam. I couldn't even get through.
No, yeah, Amsterdam.
I Heart Huckabees was horrible as well. The Fighter's probably one of his better ones.
Yeah.
I Heart Kings is
I barely remember I Heart Huckabees. That's the one that really that's where the leaked footage with him and Lily Tomlin. Yeah, that's right. That's when Lily just lost everything on him.
Well, it's his fault. He's being a fucking dick.
Yeah.
And she's like, just tell me what the fuck you want. Right? Like, and he's like just being an asshole to her. And there's tons of other footage and stuff in audio that's come out later that makes like, you know, the shit that's come out Tom Cruise and Christian Bale like look like nothing. Like this guy's a dick. But again, I mean, he does make some good shit. If he gets into this and if they actually play into it and play it up a little bit, I think it could be fun. Like, I mean, I'm goofing around a little bit, but you cannot hold Nicolas Cage back. You got to let him just go full bore. I mean, you can't hold him back and expect this movie to be good because that's the whole reason I said yes. That's why you need him to play.
Name me a role that Nicolas Cage did hold back on because I'm having trouble.
Yeah, right.
No, you're not wrong. So I mean, but if there's ever that's my point is if there's ever going to be a director who's going to stand in his way.
Yeah, David could be one of them. He could be, or he could be a match made in heaven for him.
Could be. So let's hope for the best. I'm kind of looking forward to this.
Well,
yeah,
he did do a good job playing a total creep in Long Legs. So
I haven't seen that yet, but I've heard a lot.
I haven't seen that yet either.
He was actually not bad in Sympathy for the Devil. That was not a bad.
Oh, really? I didn't see that one, but I wouldn't say it was like like incredible, but it's fairly good. It's if you're a Cage fan, it's definitely if you're a Cage fan, give it.
You want him uncaged? I like that. That's what he's like. That's gonna be the name of my autobiography. Uncaged.
I just can't
history and life of Nicolas Cage.
I can't wait to see the makeup that they're going to put on Nick Cage to look like John Madden.
That or he'll just get fat.
He's too old to do that right now, actually. So they'll put prosthetics on him.
Don't tell him no. I'll fucking eat donuts for fucking 10 weeks straight. He'll do it.
Yeah, I don't think he will, man. He's at that age. It's really hard to lose weight.
No, I know. I'm just picking. No, you're right. They'll probably get. I don't think they'll make him like. I don't think they're gonna go overboard with it. My guess is
No, they're gonna make him like 1980s John Madden.
Yeah, I was gonna say like maybe a jowl prosthetic, maybe a paunch, probably about
definitely a wig.
Oh yeah, wig, obviously. Stark of Iron has been here for 6 whole months. Thank you for being here, Stark of Iron. Says, Hail Midnight's Edge. Much love from Stark Tower. Recently got to 1 subs myself. Hope everyone is doing well. I'm scared for Romulus. I heard some things. Let's hope Beetlejuice stays the course. Well, congratulations on 1K subs. That's a milestone that cannot be ignored. And yeah, Romulus, like I said, I'm just gonna wait it out. We'll see. Disney doesn't deserve my money now. So yeah. Timothy Struble sends in $4.99, says, what's the word on Star Trek now that Paramount is owned by Skydance? Well, they're not technically owned by Skydance yet, Timothy. In fact, I don't know if you caught the earlier part of the show. Somebody else looks like they might be throwing in a bid in this, which will make this go out even longer. But we don't really necessarily know the status of where Star Trek is going to be. We can speculate. And I partially think some of the reason of these moving and shifting around of things that's going on at Paramount and stuff is them moving certain entities here and there. So if they do sell CBS, I think they're going to keep some properties and then they're going to let some properties go. Star Trek might be one of them, but the problem with Star Trek I keep hearing is that Kurtzman either comes with the deal or he has to be bought out. There's a secret hideout in there and how much they're in bed with Star Trek. So that's a whole nother can of worms. If Skydance takes over and they keep Star Trek over there, regardless if they moved it away from CBS and put it under Paramount, then Skydance will just continue to do what they were doing before, which is the same shit Alex Kurtzman doing. So in that case, I wouldn't hold any hope. But I've been hearing rumors that the Academy show might be up in the air now, and they may even, I don't think they will since they made a big deal out of it at, Comic-Con, but some rumors going around that they might cancel Section 31 and tax write-off, do as a tax write-off, but I don't think that's going to happen.
Yeah, that one is still up in the air because I do know that even though it's going to be terrible, Michelle Yeoh really wants it to be released because she loves science fiction, but I don't think she understands what this is. Not she's stupid or anything. I just think that she's been fed a whole lot of BS. That's why. She's agreeing to do this type of stuff, which is unfortunate.
An accidental tourist sends in 2 Canadians and says, Tom, you need to audition for the role. Well, Nicolas Cage is already playing himself, but I mean, I could play Madden, I suppose. I mean, I'm the right type, but that's not what they're after. They want Nicolas Cage, and I can understand. I would want Nicolas Cage. Kalekioki, but thank you for the vote of confidence, though. Just the same, accidental tourist. I appreciate it. Kalekioki is here and sends in $2. Says, heard a rumor that Kurtzman is gone. What's with that? Okay, this is another side of the rumor. Is that I have heard the same thing, is that he's being squeezed out, and that would go along with the Academy being either up in the air or canceled, and Section 31 either memory hold tax write-off or whatever they're going to do. Because the other part of this rumor that's going around, and again, take it with a big, huge grain of salt, and I think Doomcock even reported on this, so he probably heard either from the same places I did or similar places, and that was that basically they are demanding the spin-off of Picard. What is it called? New Frontier?
Star Trek Legacy
or whatever the hell it was called. Yeah. So we'll see if that's accurate or not. But
well, that one there, I have my reservations on because again, the only real big problem is that right now the rights for Star Trek film and television are still under Paramount. If they try to move things around, the film rights have to remain with wherever the TV rights go. And CBS doesn't actually make movies. So you're going to have a problem there, which means that you can't separate them. The other part too is that if the rumors are true that Kurtzman is out, I don't think that's likely because you have to essentially squeeze out all of Secret Hideout.
And that's what I was hearing. Yeah.
And the thing is, I don't know how successful they're going to be at this point, because I think their contract with Star Trek ends 2027 or 2028, I think.
Yeah, I'm not sure on that.
Because they renewed it for 5 years in 23, right? Or 22.
Like that, yeah.
So, yeah, it's all up in the air. Whatever those deals are going to be, it's going to be a legal nightmare in sorting them out. Because again, one of the things that any buyer of Paramount or whether it be CBS wants to deal with is a legal rights issue over any of the properties that they have initially. And right now we have a split set of rights. We have original Star Trek rights, which are shared between Paramount and CBS. And then we also have the Bad Robot Secret Hideout set of Star Trek rights, which are also shared by Paramount and CBS. But it's also got Secret Hideout and Bad Robot associated to that as well. So that makes it even further complicated. And currently right now, they're all consolidated together under one parent company to make things easier. But if Paramount is sold and then CBS is sold, that goes into a nightmare again, which means who gets Star Trek. And if there's any other properties that Secret Hideout or Bad Robot sunk their tentacles into as well, who's going to get those? Because Bad Robot still has a little bit of a taste in the Mission Impossible franchise because JJ directed number 3, but you'll also notice that Tom Cruise has been keeping him at a great distance since that time. And I think it's mostly because he feels like he probably got played by JJ, because JJ does get a piece of those, of that franchise.
As I always say, J.J. Abrams is the Hamburglar of Hollywood.
Well,
go on.
Six just sent this to me. He says Justin Seaman teases his new Star Trek comedy with Tawny Newsome and reveals the project's TNG and DS9 influence. So here's another show I don't even remember. I think I kind of vaguely remember hearing about
First ever live action comedy. How did that come about?
So we're trying to
I've been
make
a Star
an
Trek fan
Orville.
my whole life. I was a Trekker before I was in any other nerd category. Around the time of Discovery, I just sort of befriended the folks that were making it, Alex Kurtzman, and Tawny right here was hosting an after show podcast thing that I was just on because I was a nerd, and just over time that developed into us having a comedy pitch for Star Trek that really kind of grew out of like our organic love for those like bottle episodes, particularly on
This guy doesn't look
DS9,
like a
where it's
Star
like
Trek
no
fan at all.
adventure would happen. It was mostly like a character drama / comedy, and we just sort of kept riffing, and here we are.
He's
We are
not
in
acting like a
development.
nerd.
We are in very early stage. We don't even have a
What was that, Price?
He's not acting like a nerd.
No, he's acting like a homosexual, actually.
I was going to say something else.
title.
I was trying to be more diplomatic than script.
Well,
but-
I'm not doing it as a derogatory. I'm like, he just sounds very gay and ambiguous. And he's
Yeah.
talking about doing a live action comedy with the voice actor who does the animated comedy of Star Trek. It's like, that's kind of redundant.
So it's going to be a spin-off of the Upper
Lower
Decker.
Decks? Oh, God. I hope not.
I don't know. It's feeling really good, I have to say.
And what would you say some of the inspirations or influences are you looking at for the show?
I think DS9's a big inspiration, but also, and this is kind of true for everything, it's just true for Dear White People even, like those episodes of Star Trek The Next Generation where it wasn't plot heavy. It was more like you were with a character for a day and you got to see their perspective on a bigger thing. Those were always my favorite
So he's
episodes.
really,
you know?
literally, they're just going to try and rip off the Orville. Let's be real here. That's what
Sounds
they're
like it.
Yeah, they're basic, because that's what I mean. Basically, I described the Orville as, yes, there's some overarching big stories, kind of like TNG and stuff like that would have, but at the same time, all Orville was like the lesser important guys, right? It wasn't the main guys like Picard.
It wasn't
and
a
all that kind of
flagship,
shit.
yeah.
Yeah, and not only that, the other side of it was we actually get to see the bathroom for once. That was my other explanation of what Orville was. It was a Star Trek show, but it was those things, right? So they already did this. They've already beat them to the punch. And even in a way, fucking Galaxy Quest kind of did the same kind of thing there too, with breaking the fourth wall in that respect. So I just don't see this working for them. This is so stupid.
Well, first of all, you don't have anyone with comedic cred associated with this pitch. So that's your big problem there. Because Tawny, yeah, she was in Lower Decks. She was also in the horrible Space Force TV show with Stephen Carell. Which was,
But I can almost guarantee you she's going to be playing the role she played in that fucking show.
Oh, yeah, probably. I mean, maybe. I
That's
don't know.
kind of the new thing with these guys, is to cast somebody who can play it in both arenas. And then they'll just transfer it over one way or the other. It just seems to be the norm. And I think that's another reason why they always constantly have people who sound, or they can only voice people who they look and sound like, or what, you know what I mean? Like, it's like,
Oh, for like live action crossovers. Yeah.
exactly, yeah. So it's just like ridiculous. The only exception was when they went with Ahsoka with Rosario Dawson, but that was just kind of like
Well, yeah. No, they never. Well, the thing is, they never actually intended to ever do a live action Ahsoka because that's why they cast the best voice actors they could for that horrible character. And then when they decided, hey, it's Disney, we're going to do a live action Ahsoka, it's like, well, we need someone that looks like her. Rosario Dawson was their choice. There's also a fan choice pick as well, but yeah.
I think Rosario Dawson could have done a better job than what we saw of her. I really think that she didn't get good guidance.
Dude, she was in a horrible show that she did the best she could. But like, she was like, act stoic, done. And then she just stood off in just long distances for 38% of the show. And then she did terrible lightsaber choreography for the rest. And God, and yeah, talked to a dude in a motion capture suit who later played a robot voiced by David Tennant.
I'll tell you what, you know, I've seen movies where Rosario Dawson was kind of playful and fun more, and I feel like Ahsoka could have had that kind of a little more playfulness, but they wanted her to be like as if she's some.
They wanted her to be Gandalf without the playfulness that Gandalf has before he becomes Gandalf the White, and that's the thing is like. This is the biggest flaw with Star Wars. It's actually something that George Lucas did. He betrayed his own premise by making the fact that all the Jedi are basically monks. And they're not funny, they're not happy, even though Obi-Wan, when we first saw him, smiled, made jokes, was nurturing, got good candid guidance, but also wise. Instead, it's like, nope, we're going to make them all kind of like weird pseudo monks, priests and things, soft-spoken, big on wisdom, always right, that type of, it was just boring. It wasn't fun.
I mean, I thought that in the prequels, they still made the Obi-Wan Kenobi character not completely boring.
Yeah, well, no, they were able to have fun with him because they had the excuse of youth to allow him to be a little bit more lively, right?
I'll take that excuse. I mean, all I know is that they really, really didn't know what to do with Rosario Dawson. There's a lot you could do with her, and I think that she could have been good, but they just the show. It's like you said, nothing would have mattered. The show was poorly written, poorly directed, poorly produced. Really showed Dave Filoni's weakness in that department, I guess.
It also shows the conditioning that a lot of people have where they think, oh, because it's a cartoon, it can be bad. It's like, no, I don't care. It's a cartoon. It should be just as good as a live action thing. In fact, better because you don't have the limitations of what a live action production has.
Yep. That should be all the more reason that you can go nuts with the possibilities of story because as much as we all love movies, we do recognize sometimes that the budgetary constraints are out of even the best studio's control. It happens, and that's okay. With animation, the sky's the limit, and you should maximize on that. And there's a lot of things you can also get away with, and also make look a little bit better to animation versus movie. Because we've heard the age-old argument that sometimes not always some things translate best into certain mediums. Animation, you can make almost anything look good unless you go out of your way to make it look ugly, like a Velma type of show. But you can make a lot of things that you want to look good.
Yeah, and that comes with the price tag as well. But the thing is, as long as you're willing to pay it, the price tag for a cartoon is, especially like a weekly one, it's nowhere near what you'd do on a weekly live action science fiction production of the same genre. I mean, the fact of the matter is that you go back to, say, the golden age of cartoon animation, which would be like the early 90s. Warner Brothers had fantastic cartoons across the board, not just their superhero stuff, but also the comedy shows. And the animation is immaculate. Then you go look at Fox and Marvel Studios and some of the other stuff. Animation, you could tell they were not investing in it a lot. Like, heck, Spider-Man.
And don't mistake the Warner Brothers
is repurposed web swinging and explosions.
and as I was going to say, don't mistake the Warner Brothers shows that Fox broadcast. They had nothing to do with those.
Yeah,
the Fox animation stuff was
the one I was on a constrained budget.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember the shows specifically that were theirs.
Wow.
So, yeah, I mean, just because it's a cartoon and maybe it is marketed for kids does not give it a pass to being of less quality, nor does it say that Dave Filoni is better suited to cartoons. It's like, he's not better suited to cartoons. He was terrible for cartoons.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen the stuff that he's written and directed and show run. And I'm like, I would never show a child this because it would basically make them borderline retarded.
I mean, Some
Go
of the
ahead.
stuff in Star Wars Rebels, I didn't think all of it was bad. There were some decent ideas there. I don't know if it's all his ideas or what he did there, but I'll say that there's certain moments of Rebels as a cartoon, I don't know why, that didn't bother me as much, or even here and there things that I even mildly enjoyed. Not all of it, but some of it. But once it came to the live action Ahsoka, I do think that it really showed that he's not able to make that transition. It's okay if you didn't like the Rebels thing. I'm not saying it's my favorite ever, but I can't say that I fully hated everything there.
I could agree with that. I didn't hate it as well. I could definitely tell there's a lot of flaws with it, but it was definitely it's fine. I there's nothing I really hate about it. There's a few things I'm not really wild about it on it
All the
either.
room between the rooms. What is it? The
World between worlds.
corridor. What's the term for that?
The world between worlds. That's your time. That's your time travel. Rewrite anything you.
Yeah, I mean,
Deus Ex Machina.
that started feeling like he was going for some weird things, and maybe if you criticize that script, I'd agree with you. Those Loth cats and all this weird shit that happens towards the end of that series, it's a bit of a leap of faith there. So if you were criticizing that script, you have somewhat of a case. But somehow, as a cartoon that I kind of disconnected from the live action in my mind, I thought it was mildly entertaining.
Mm-hmm. So yeah,
Well, I'm not really talking about the entertaining value. I'm just talking about the level of writing and quality overall.
Yeah, I
That's
thought
the
like script
difference,
was
right?
talking about too.
All right. I mean, I can't really argue with you. It's not perfect, but there were certain things that I didn't hate, I guess. I didn't suffer watching Rebels, but again, live action for me is something else. So watching those animated shows, even if it's the Clone Wars, I kind of saw it as something else, like a different category. And when they decided to start connecting between the live action and the animation, I wasn't all that happy about it. I kind of like the compartmentalization of having animated as some other thing, and live action, which is like the main course, as something else.
Well, here's
But that's
something
just
that
me.
just dropped that
Drop
kind of
it.
goes back to a story we talked about many years ago and time again over the years. The Day the Clown Cried, script resurrected, turned into fame, unreleased Jerry Lewis Holocaust tale, now funded screenplay might see the light of day. So exclusive, the Day the Clown Cried might be getting another chance. The big screen, rewritten by Jerry Lewis, who started and directed the 1972 feature drama that went unfinished and unreleased. The script for the Holocaust tale is being revived by K-Jam Media founder Kia Jam. Jam has been part of the financing producing of films ranging from The Killing Game to In the Heart of the Sea, Sin City, A Dame to Kill For, and numerous others.
Well,
Jam
those are not some
said-
good supporting titles, but
Yeah.
I was under the impression the movie was finished. Jerry Lewis just refused to release it while he was alive.
Well, I don't know if it's complete, but like you can, I guess, go see it. Like there's been a screening or two of it, I guess. It's
Yeah.
in what is it, the Library of Congress or something like that.
Yeah,
You
it's in
actually have to-
it's in the Library of Congress. You can find various rep theaters showing it because they have permission from the estate. But I mean, listen, if it's in the Library of Congress, I'm sorry, that qualifies as a finished film. They don't.
Why
really
didn't
take
they
assembly
release
cuts.
it?
Yeah.
Why didn't they ever release it?
So you don't know
Jerry Lewis had reservations about it. Not the quality, just that it dealt with a very dark subject matter for him personally, and he didn't want to really be around to.
It was one of those movies that makes you wonder how it ever got past the idea stage.
I see.
Because the whole movie is predicated around Jerry Lewis plays this clown who ends up leading the kids into the gas chamber at the end.
Yeah,
Oh.
it's very very dark.
Very dark. Yeah,
It's not a comedy. That's the thing.
No.
I wouldn't watch that movie. That's
It's
not
when
for
you
me.
go full retard, basically. Like,
I see.
Well, I mean that's some of the rumors. The other people that I've known seen it basically saying it's trying to show the dark. It's basically trying to do what Schindler's List did 25 years before Schindler's List, showing the atrocities, the difficulties, and how much of it weighed on people and the truth of what was going on at that moment.
the difference there is Schindler's List was about a guy trying to save people. This is
a guy that's being tortured, realizing that he's sending children that he was normally there to entertain into their demise. Yeah.
So it doesn't have the exact same kind of.
Well, I mean, it's also based off of a true thing. So
It is, but again, it's not. There's
It's
a
not with the
line,
hopeful aspect. It's basically with the
and I don't
darker.
mean to like diminutize it by using the Tropic Thunder bit, but it is kind of true, right? It's like that explanation that Robert Downey Jr.'s character gives. I know it's given in jest, but he's not wrong, right? He's like, you look at these movies, you can go to a point, but once you go over a point, you're not going to get what you want out of this, right?
Yeah.
And that's kind of what he was saying. He's like, you can do Forrest Gump, you can do Rain Man, you can do those kind of things, but once you go full retard, you've gone past that point, and you end up with I Am Sam, right? Like, this is not comparing these two films. This is clearly a much more tragic, story that it's telling, and that's what I'm saying, is it goes over that line to where Schindler's List goes right up to that fucking line, right? Like,
I
you
mean,
can tell that story.
I just want to say I take the real events very seriously, but somehow watching it play out in a movie the way you've described is something that I would prefer not to do.
That's what I'm getting at. That's exactly what I'm getting at, Price. That's the kind of thing that's more meant for like a documentary, right?
Right.
Because at least with Schindler's List, there's an air of hope in that story, right?
Yes. Sorry, go on.
No, I was just gonna say, and of course we know how the war ends, but yeah, go ahead.
I'm saying that I think that Steven Spielberg was in a unique position, that he understood the subject matter, but at the same time, he also understood enough about the industry to make a movie that isn't as, even though he's making it about this subject matter, like maybe you said, there's some kind of hope in it that still lures people in, and he was able to reach some kind of balance with it. But this movie that you just described, it doesn't seem to have that balance. It seems like it's just one big bummer.
Well, and you go down here and it says there's a documentary that's supposed to be coming out called From Darkness to Light, and it will premiere at the Venice Film Festival. So that's coming out too. So that's probably a better way to approach this, especially if they get actual footage from the film. Because, like, yeah, I would like a really interesting documentary on this film. Using the footage would be probably the better way of going about it. And I'll give you kind of a similar-ish, but not exactly even close to example. On the recent release of Bruce Lee's box set, they actually did a new documentary where they took all the footage from his unfinished film, the one that they basically recobbled together as, what was it, Game of Death or whatever. So we finally get to see all that footage in a documentary form kind of thing, where with context, and kind of get an idea of what Bruce was going to do with that movie and stuff like that, instead of what we actually got. Something along those lines to me would be better. Like, I don't want to sit and watch this movie, but I'll watch an interesting documentary that goes about the making of it and why, Jerry decided to shelve it and all that kind of business and all the politics around it. And then we get to actually see some actual scenes and footage from the film. But that's about all I really want to see. I care to see. I don't really need to see the whole movie. Right?
I could maybe even waive the entire documentary. I think that if he didn't want to release it, I want to respect what he wanted, and as far as I'm concerned,
well, he never said that actually.
He didn't say he didn't want to release it. He said he didn't want to be alive while it was released. He wanted
so
to
yeah, it's actually
died, because it was such a difficult film for him to do, a film that he felt that he had to do, but he also didn't want to deal with all the other stuff that would come as a result of it. Personally for him, because again, he made it no secret that he was Jewish, putting it like that.
Right.
But yeah, for some, there's got to be a reason that he made this movie, and I'm pretty sure that reason is in that movie. And I think whatever that reason is something that he could only do once that movie was made. He couldn't relive it again and again by talking about it or bringing it up or anything of that nature. Because even in interviews, he had difficult times talking about the movie, because he says it's never coming out while he's alive.
Who funded it then?
He self-produced it along with a couple other producers as well, but it was his thing.
Interesting.
Yeah,
I like stuff that's more sci-fi and escapism, stuff that's so tragedies of history, things like that. Maybe what Tom said is right. In certain occasions, maybe a documentary works better for me. I'm very knowledgeable.
You have to have a documentary to see this movie with any kind of context. That's the other problem now.
Right. I'm very knowledgeable about the subject, and like I said, I take it very seriously. But it's just that Hollywood films about it, I don't love. Same way I also told you I don't love Hollywood films about wars and things like that. Not wars like Commando, not that kind of thing, but where they want to make it feel like you're on the battlefield. Like when I watch a movie, I want to kind of I know this sounds lame, and maybe Script will hate me for saying it, but I want it to be more escapist. Like I want to feel like I'm watching.
Most of the time,
something.
I'm the same way, Price, and I agree. But once in a while, I'm in the mood for something that is, either inspirational or whatever. And I love biopics. I love certain ways, and a lot of the ways I can kind of disconnect myself from that and still get entertained by that stuff, even if it's got some really tragic stuff in it. Is 9 times out of 10, I know that stuff is amped up for drama.
Well,
Right,
yeah, I
like
mean,
that.
there's always a lot of the, oddly enough, a lot of the military movies that you see, military themed films, they are partially financed by the Pentagon.
Yeah.
Because
and
they're
it's just-
actually part of the propaganda wing of the Pentagon. but
sometimes, I mean, this is where I feel like Hollywood lost itself. There was a time when Hollywood used to be able to make movies and really kind of get people talking and get their attention. As I pointed out before, Rain Man was the first movie where people started talking about autism and stuff like that on a grand scale. Sure, people talked about AIDS and it was kind of like this weird thing that nobody understood. But after Philadelphia came out, the money that poured in for AIDS research was like insane.
it came in
compared
like
to what they had
10 or
before.
15 times. Because
that's the point.
There was a ton of
Yeah.
news about it in the 80s. I mean, the most biggest story, of course, was Princess Diana shaking the hand of an AIDS person without wearing a plastic glove. That was huge. But the Philadelphia movie just got it more on the ground level, where it's like, this is not just a rare condition now. This has been widespread through the mishandlings of a certain Italian quote unquote doctor who has been recently in the news the last few years as well. Same person, different disease. And yeah, I mean, it allowed for money and financing to go into medications to make people of that affliction of AIDS to live better lives than what they had prior.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I'm just bringing it up as a point that, like, yes, and I know sometimes Hollywood would get preachy in the past, but it never felt like it was at the extent we're at.
Nowhere near what it became.
Nowhere now. And I mean, I kind of got into this the other day with somebody over Gina, and it's like, no, I agree. Nobody should, if you're somebody who's in like movies and music and stuff like that, and you have a broad audience, I'm not saying you shouldn't be able to speak out, and say your piece, but don't attack your audience if they don't agree with you. Otherwise, I just keep it to yourself. Because I always had a pretty staunch rule when it came to meeting people or being in like family events or other things. It's like, don't talk about religion or politics, especially the main things. Because that's the easiest way to get into a fight with somebody right away. Right? It never fails. Even somebody you think you may agree with, sooner or later you're going to hit a point. You're better off talking about things that you do agree about, or things that you like. And that's why I love entertainment, because it usually brings us all together.
Well, that's what it used to do. I mean, that's why.
Just to finish my point, even MTV back in the day when they had the rock the vote, it wasn't rock the vote for Clinton or rock the vote for Bush or whoever. It was just rock the vote. But if they were to do it now, it'd be rock the Kamala vote. But sorry, Price, go ahead.
No, I mean, I'm saying exactly what you continue to say, that entertainment in general, and you gave a good example even with MTV, it used to be something that it's sort of a common denominator. It brings people together, it unifies people. Even I can remember, and this wasn't 70 million years ago, when there was Avengers Endgame, I sat in a theater with probably the most like diverse crowd you could think of. It was a full packed theater. Every single person that you could think of in every category and every whatever was sitting in this theater, and everybody together watched and had a good time. I know some people don't like Endgame, but as a cinematic spectacle that's tied up the MCU, there was just this feeling of a lot of people in a theater enjoying themselves and enjoying this experience together. And that wasn't 100 years ago. You know what I mean? That was relatively, before all, maybe the woke stuff already started then, but we still got that movie. And that's what entertainment used to be. It used to bring people together, and then somehow they decided that they want to attack people with it, and they want to use it only for propaganda and only against different groups, and they ruined it.
I mean, the last time I can think of a movie actually doing what they think all these new woke modern films are doing was probably Milk. That's the last one I can really think of. Unless somebody can come up with a better one since then. That's what, 20, 30 years ago now? Yeah.
Milk's not 20. Milk's like a decade ago.
Milk's more than that, ain't it?
No. Milk is like in the teens or 2000 teens.
Was it?
2008. So yeah, it was like
okay.
15 years ago.
Why does it feel like it was so much longer than that? But I mean, that was
But
basically
that's
the
actually
point.
literally the year before woke started becoming woke and social justice warriors started becoming part of the lexicon.
Well, and I was gonna say it might have maybe that's what kind of led us here, because that's where basically, you know, that was the last kind of bastion for Hollywood to kind of say anything about was gay rights, right? They'd already tackled civil rights, they'd already tackled women's rights, they'd already tackled AIDS, they've already tackled this, that, and the other. Gay rights were pretty much the last thing to tackle. And Milk kind of
Yeah, and then
opened that
they wouldn't
floodgates.
leave well enough alone, apparently.
Evidently not, because like since then I can't think of one movie that's had the impact that they think these woke features are having now, right? They're having the absolute opposite, and we talk about this all the time.
But you
They're
know
the
what?
absolute opposite
You know what?
effect, but
It used to be that there was sort of these kind of more indie type of movies that did these kind of more social things. And if you especially wanted to go see something like that, there was an audience for it. They usually weren't the highest budgets, and maybe somebody would want to watch it. But the stuff that was more like an MCU or superheroes or science fiction or the more standard Hollywood fare, that was more for a wide audience, not really dwelling on these type of political propaganda things as much. And that's really the thing that shifted, that those little movies that some people could go see if they wanted to bring that into those bigger movies.
And well, Disney brought it into some, but I'm having a difficult time trying to figure out other big films or big budgeted films that kind of push that same ideology.
I don't know. I mean, I saw Transformers: Rise of the Beast. That's not a Disney movie. That was another propaganda piece of shit. Almost every movie, you know, even the more recent, we saw Kong versus Godzilla, whatever that was. Even there, the girl was a girl boss. The guy, she can't be in a relationship with him. She looks like a little boy. You know, and maybe some people like that kind of thing. You know, I don't know. I mean, people like different things, I guess, but I don't.
I mean, I think maybe you're like picking fleas at that point, but I also do agree that yeah, we've reached this point where, especially, there was certain things. Furiosa's a propaganda too. That's a girl boss movie. You got
No, it's not.
Maybe
I mean, it
Disney
looks like a
or-
girl boss movie, but it's not. I mean, that's the thing. It's poorly
the movie
timed
it's
and poorly
based on
marketed.
was. Let's be real.
Disney is
Oh
the
yeah, the movie
worst
it's based on
offender.
was definitely more girl boss. Absolutely, yeah.
Disney is the worst offender out of all these studios, but don't think that those other studios didn't capitalize on the.
And we almost got the DCU.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing: is they technically didn't capitalize on it because they didn't make any money off of it. But the thing is, they got out a lot sooner than Disney did. Disney hasn't gotten out at all. That's the big difference.
Right.
What was that? The Emancipation of Harley Quinn, the Birds of Prey.
Oh yeah, that was their big bomb.
Sadly,
salvo
in a
of the
perfect world, that should have been good, because there was a time where the Birds of Prey was a comic that had better standings with DC fan, and was a time where it was always a women-based comic in terms
They
of.
needed hot women in that movie, and instead they wanted to lecture and do their bullshit.
Cool.
Yeah.
Black Canary's cool. I like her. It's been like she's one of those characters where even you could put her in her own like mini, and she could headline a small thing, but she's definitely best when she.
Well, it's because they fucked up the whole story. Because first of all, you haven't established Joker and Harley in a relationship yet. That's the first problem.
Yep.
Because the only time we've seen them, they were already broken up. So there's nothing there. And then the whole movie is predicated on her trying to be her own woman, when she basically has to admit herself that she is basically going to always be in the Joker's shadow.
That were not flattering.
Yeah.
They wanted to make her look bad instead of look good, which is weird because Margot Robbie in reality looks good. So why do you want to make her look bad?
No, the whole movie should have been like after about 2 or 3 movies where you'd already seen Harley and the Joker together. And yes, it's finally this like Suicide Squad group of hot chicks who have to infiltrate the Joker or something like that or whatever to get back in and get him again because she'd been wronged in some way. That I can understand. But like you have this problem with the whole thing is predicated on this idea that she's supposed to be, you know, outliving his shadow when she's nothing without him. So it doesn't fucking matter. It's stupid. It was just
shit.
done.
It
was shit, and every guy in it was a piece of shit, and the only guy that was decent still got treated like shit.
Oh yeah, 100%. Because I think that was Ann Sarnoff's thing, right? That was hers. Came up under her tenure.
Yeah, her and what's his ass.
And Jeff Johns and Hamada. Yeah. So again, like that's the thing. It's like they up until that point, Warner Brothers was just doing bad movies and bad DC movies with no real agenda in that regards. Then the one movie that they did, they're just like, oh, we're never doing this again. And
yeah.
I mean, not
I
only
mean,
the Harley
it
Quinn
went a
movies,
little further. Even the Flash is still remnants of that shit. They did some they did some crappy things. I don't know. I mean, I think that gradually they started also reshooting and toning down some of it. Maybe you're right, script. They noticed rather early that they're idiots and it sucks. But I feel like they're not the only ones. It wasn't just Warner Brothers. It wasn't just Disney. There was a general feeling in Hollywood that they need to do all of that stuff, whether it's from their movies or their TV shows or all that other stuff. And maybe a lot of these studios learned quicker than Disney, and they're making changes that we're gradually seeing. Maybe. But Disney haven't learned a thing.
correct, 100%, because you can definitely find at least one big budgeted film from all the studios outside of Disney that made that mistake. And then when you take a look at the rest of their slate, you can see that it's if they try to repeat that again, it's far less. It's
yeah, I mean, Sony saw that with Ghostbusters 2016.
They still made the mistake a few more times after.
They made it a few more times, and there were these movies with like ladies that are like the secret agents, and I don't know, Charlie's Angels. I don't know what.
And I'm still not sure what the hell is holding up Spider-Verse. Have you heard anything? Because I haven't got a chance to talk to you about this.
I last heard a few days ago that apparently it's going to be around 2 to 3 years.
Well, this is what I've been saying from the start. All of a sudden, this movie's a huge hit. The second one is in theaters compared to the first one.
Mm-hmm.
And I was telling people, I heard this rumor that there's been zero movement on it. You have the one actor come out and said, yeah, we haven't recorded any of our dialogue yet for it. I have not heard anything about the production going into production. It's like, how is this movie not going into production? This movie should be out right now.
Yeah, because
that's
the thing. Miller. And it's weird because you would never knowingly go into an animation knowing that it's going to be in 2 parts and not record all the voices at once. You just don't do that. And the reason you don't do that is for multiple reasons, but one of the primary ones is, what if one of the actors dies?
Well, not just that, it would cost half the money to do both of them at the same time than doing. I don't understand what they're doing.
There's probably issues with Lord and Miller. I don't know. Maybe did they?
Is it
not...
that, or is it Amy Pascal, or is it something else?
I don't know.
Well, the silver lining here is those.
I don't think she's involved with Spider-Verse, but we've gotten like zero movement on Spider-Man 4 too. That's the other part of this.
What's Spider-Man 4?
We don't know what the fuck's going on. They don't have a director. Nothing.
Because I know there's obviously I know technically, I mean, not a technicality.
I don't believe the Andrew Garfield rumor.
Been deader than dead, but I know it's something that people keep
and I don't believe that's going to happen either. And I don't believe the Andrew Garfield one. Sorry, Price, you were asking.
I'm saying if it makes anybody feel any better, those across the universe, whatever those were overrated. I mean, they were mediocre at best. It's not the worst movies I've seen, and there were moments that I could enjoy something about them, but I wouldn't exactly, call them masterpieces.
I fucking hated the first one.
What'd you say?
I fucking hated the first one.
Yeah, I mean, I felt the same way about the first one as I did about the second one. It's kind of just there. I didn't necessarily hate it, but it's not like I ever wanted to watch it again. And the second I didn't watch it, like the second it was over, never thought about it again. Like, it's a movie I don't think about. I don't want to see it again. I don't care about it. And yeah, I mean, Lord and Miller themselves, I don't trust them. And sorry to talk about myself. I'll just say once, the person that's the CEO of their production company, he once did a really mean thing on Twitter where, like, he presented me as an Islamophobe to his friends and then blocked me while having a conversation with me. So they don't have points. Like, they didn't exactly score points with me either.
Yeah, no, I wasn't a fan of those, but I'm just kind of curious. I'm like, what the hell's going on here? What is the holdup? Right? Like, it's like, what is getting in the way of these movies? Why, especially Spider-Verse 3?
Well, their CEO is a douche and a jerk off, and they, in my opinion, of course, and they themselves are the ones that employed them. So maybe by extension, they're also, in my opinion, jerk offs.
I don't give a shit if we ever get it, because I don't think the first one was
no,
all that great,
fuck them.
So. But I can't understand, because it's not like they can't say the movie didn't make the money they want. I mean, did they get such a horrible response from it? Did the videos not sell well? What is going on here that they didn't jump on this right away? I don't get it. I mean, we're already hearing rumors about more Ghostbuster stuff. That's not happening. And that's why I don't think it's a Tom Rothman thing, Price. I get where you're coming from, but I think it's beyond his control.
No, something else is going on there. I don't know what it is, but it's weird because
because he's got no problem green lighting other shit. We're getting Men in Black 4, we're getting Ghostbusters stuff here.
Actually, it was Men in Black 5.
Oh, whatever. I don't even know that there was
Men in Black International shouldn't count.
It doesn't count.
They'll eventually roll that movie out. There's no way they're not going to do the third Spider-Verse, whatever. They'll roll it out. Some people will go see it, and hopefully we'll never hear about it again.
That, or I wonder if they're having some issues with Disney.
Oh, but Disney, they're allowed to make those movies. If there was an issue,
they can make them all day long. That's not the problem. They don't have the fucking rights to the merchandising. So that's the other thing I'm seeing. Tom Rothman might be looking at the bottom. Now, this is where I can see Tom Rothman coming in. He's looking at the bottom line going, how much was the budget on these Spider-Verse movies? The last one was what, 150, something like that? 100 something?
Right.
So I know they're not over expensive, but they're still like 100 some million because they're animated.
Right.
He's looking at that box office. Yeah, that's not bad box office. But guess what? We don't get any of the plastic. We're not selling any of the plastic. Disney's getting all that money, those fuckers.
So you think he's holding Disney hostage and saying, "Hey, we're only going to make another one if you cut us into the merch"?
Maybe, and he might be holding up Tom Holland's version as fucking collateral. I don't know, because they actually have a co-deal on the MCU Spider-Man stuff.
Yeah, they've got a co-deal on that. They've technically got a deal with Holland for 3 pictures. 3 Spider-Man pictures, not including appearances in other Marvel films. So that's still there. But it's all like dependent on the fact that will Sony greenlight it? Because again, Disney pretty much makes the movie and Sony just gives them permission to do it and they take their cut. That's kind of how it works.
And that's where I was saying, because like Spider-Verse, from what I was hearing from the reports, they did very well in the toys. Extremely well.
And Disney gets that money, yeah.
And Disney's getting all that money. And Tom Rothman's probably going, where's our fucking Spider-Man toy money?
And you know what? If Tom Holland...
Why should we make a commercial for their fucking toys? Is probably what he's thinking.
If Tom Holland never plays Spider-Man again, I'm also good with that. It's not like I sit around like dreaming of Tom Holland.
Oh no, we're gonna get another Tom Holland's gonna be in the next couple of Avenger films. We're gonna get at least one more.
I could do without him. I feel like
Spider-Man.
I've seen enough of Tom Holland. Like if
you know what I think's gonna happen, I think they're gonna swap him out for Miles Morales after Secret Wars.
You know what? If they're gonna swap him out for Miles Morales, then I prefer Tom Holland.
My other theory on what's holding this up is I think that might be part of the deal, is they're going to actually find a way to make Spider-Verse 3 crossover with this whole thing with the MCU, and that's how they get a live-action version of that Miles Morales into the MCU, and somehow Tom Holland gets...
this sucks. This fucking sucks.
Don't be surprised.
That'd be a very huge step back for Marvel.
Don't be surprised.
I'm sorry. I know some people, like, it's not that I have meltdowns over Miles Morales. Back in the day when he was introduced, I didn't even think much of it. But over time, when I see what Hollywood has done and, you know, how everything has gone, I kind of, you know, it's fine as a variant. I don't need him to be in live action. I don't need him to be the main Spider-Man. I feel like I've seen maybe enough of him too. You did some movies. He did his thing. He got his. I
can watch Tom Holland play Spider-Man for the next decade. I'm okay with that because I know he's going to look like that for the next decade. He may start getting thinner hair, but
I would take a Tobey Maguire movie even now.
I never got the obsession with Tobey. I like him okay, but he doesn't.
He has a wimpy voice for
me.
Spider-Man, yeah.
And he's like, he feels like a 40-year-old trapped in a kid's body all the time. That's my problem with him.
That's what I feel like. Maybe I identify with him.
Maybe that's why you identify with him. But like, I think Tom Holland, in my opinion, now I don't like the second Spider-Man Tom Holland movie all that much. I think it's probably one of the poorest of the bunch. It's damn near horrible. But I like what he encapsulates as Peter Parker and like, I feel like he's got that. And I didn't mind what they did with the third film. It kind of got things in a way that, you know, they still worked with the original story without revamping or, you know, reiterating the original story all over again for us. Like, you know, we've seen a million times, as I jokingly say, you know, Uncle Ben's been killed how many times on screen now? He's almost as bad as the Waynes and Dracula at this point, you know. It's like Hollywood has it out for him because they just can't not show him get killed.
Well, I mean, again, every movie is somebody's first.
Yeah, and I get it, but I didn't mind. And most people, I know some people had a problem with, but I didn't mind how they did it with, you know, the younger version of Aunt May, and they never said there wasn't an Uncle Ben. In fact, there was.
No, they definitely mentioned
allusions
Ben.
to
They
him.
just don't
Yeah.
show any. They don't show any photos of him, which it should be, of course, Jason Alexander, for that inside joke for everybody out there.
Or Joe Pesci would have been fun too.
Joe Pesci would have been a great one as well.
You know, the great responsibility and all that stuff. You know the thing.
But I mean, the I think one of the reasons why No Way Home fared better is that Peter is actually technically learning from himself how to be Spider-Man in that movie.
Yeah, and that's what I think most people liked about it, is you had all the different Spider-Men come together to kind of make a perfect Spider-Man in a way.
Yeah, and he's in a position now that a lot of fans are very happy to see. He's on his own. He doesn't have an aunt. He doesn't have an uncle. He's in university. He's going to have to start making money posing as Spider-Man, with taking photos of Spider-Man or videos of Spider-Man to sell to J. Jonah Jameson on his Alex Jones style show. But yeah, like that, the question being is like, how is Disney going to proceed next? And I think you're probably right. I think Sony is probably thinking, is there a way we can kind of renegotiate the deal we already made so that we can get a little bit of that merch money, because we're the ones that our Spider-Man movies are, well, the Spider-Verse movies at least are making money. At least that last one is. Craven's not going to make any money. Madam Web definitely didn't make any money that they really needed, because although they did pre-sell it to the point where they're not actually in debt as a result of that film, and given its performance on Netflix when it dropped, they definitely going to get a nice little bonus from that company later, even though it kind of also fell off a cliff afterwards. And then Venom. Do you think Venom's really going to make $500 million at the box office? I know Craven, when it comes out in December, it'll be lucky if it breaks 120 million.
What did the last Venom do? I think it did just about as well as the first one, didn't it? Didn't do as good, I think, but it did.
I think
close.
Venom did what, like 380 or something?
Locally, yeah, but I think overall, the first one did like 900. I think the second one did 800 some. Overall, worldwide.
Second one did 506.
Oh, that's all it did? I thought it did better than that. So, okay, yeah, you might be right on that. It might do a lot worse than that. I mean, this trailer kind of has that vibe of, look, we're going to try and make up for the last one, kids, kind of thing going for it. But
Venom does okay internationally. I think that it has an audience of people that go see it, but then they wonder why they went to see it. But sometimes that's enough.
The first two were kind of like, I mean, granted, the first one's better than the second one by far, don't get me wrong, but the first two were kind of like, you know, basically fast food movies, right? You go in, you kind of know what to expect. You come out with some different kind of experience, but it was still, you know, kind of like nothing that you would say is like amazing, right? It's not going to surprise you in any way. It's just like, okay, it was a movie, you know, like that was 2 hours. You know, I enjoyed elements of the last film, but I also hated stuff in it. I thought I was going to hate the first one. I thought it was actually decent enough, but I think I got more of the nostalgia kick out of it, as it felt like a movie that was written in the 90s, because it probably was. But yeah, no, I mean, I think you're right, Script. Maybe at best, if this does 400 or 500 million worldwide, I'd be surprised. You're probably right. So I think Sony's going to be a little bit more conservative with its Marvel stuff going forward, especially when they're finished with. I have a feeling this will be the last Venom film for Tom Hardy, unless he shows up in the MCU.
Oh, he'll come back for Secret Wars. You know he will. They're gonna bring him.
I know.
They'll at least invite him. It'll be a matter of, will he turn it down?
Well, I've had this weird kind of theory, because that's why I think that Venom got tossed off into that alternate universe, is that I think Feige wants to do something with Venom, but he can't because of that. But I don't know if he can get around it somehow or not, because it's going around again that, you know, as we reported before, once certain characters get used as far as villains and stuff, they cannot be brought into the MCU Spider-Man universe. And that's why we had the alternate versions of a lot of the original characters too, right? So like Flash Thompson and all that kind of stuff, and MJ instead of Mary Jane and such.
Yeah, well, I mean, the thing is that, so I think that deal has been walked back, because again, they technically shouldn't have been allowed to use the Lizard, Dr. Octavius, Green Goblin in No Way Home, because that was from the previous part of the deal.
And I think that's how they got around it, was because they were the same people playing them, perhaps. But yeah, you're right. And that's what I'm saying. That was like a while ago.
And there's still plenty of other Spider-Man villains they can use that neither Sony has used and neither's Disney's used. So.
Yeah. It's like it's the
But
Batman
this might be
problem.
something that came out in that leak. I don't know yet. That's why I sent it to Andre to kind of check into. So I don't know where this news is coming from exactly. I've been just hearing the rumor flying around again, and I'm like, yeah, we kind of knew that from before, but as Scripted pointed out, that kind of seemed like that was the old deal.
I think before they did No Way Home, because they did that renegotiation before No Way Home, right?
Yeah, there was a renegotiation for No Way Home. It was supposed to be a Spider-Man Tom Holland led movie, and then it was supposed to be a supporting role in one or two other movies, and we have not seen him in one movie since then. It was one of those. It was a deal along those lines because it was originally they were out after Far From Home.
I know part of that was they wanted to keep certain characters off to the side in case they wanted to, in case they actually got their fucking Sinister Six movie off the ground too.
Yeah.
But let's see what we got going on in the chat here. We got Wolfman Heart 79. Thank you so much for sending in $1.99. Says price on fire. Hashtag rescue Dave Filoni's dog. Oh no. His dog is in trouble of being Dave the Brave. That's an interesting name. Sends in 5 and says Classic Flicks is having a summer sale. Happy to pick up Abbott and Costello season 1 and 2 as well as Little Rascals complete collection. Oh yeah, I forgot about the Little Rascals. I don't have no money right now though. Check it out if you do.
Money.
I wasn't even able to pay for that Three Stooges box set that came out this week. I was kind of pissed. I've been waiting for those to be on Blu-ray for a while. We got teased in one of the last Columbia box sets. They had like 3 episodes, the 3 of the shorts in HD.
Ooh.
No, it was only maybe was it 3? Yeah, maybe like 3. I remember, but I was like, oh, I can't wait to get these out. So I have the DVDs, but they don't look that great. They're all right. Anyway, I think we've tapped this out. What do you guys say?
Yeah, sure. We can go home.
We'll put some mustard on it.
Dude, that was a freaking
that
awesome.
Needs to be
clipped. That needs to be saved. That needs to be looked back on in history as what a moment that was. Seriously, that was so good.
Well, I can't wait.
Do something with it, Tom. Do something with it.
The movie is that good, actually. It'd be fun.
Well, I mean, the script was solid, but it had a bunch of issues with it. So hopefully those issues were addressed. And as I said before, for a little selfless plug of my show, Scripts on Saturdays, every Saturday at 7 p.m. Eastern. It's not the first script that we reviewed that has been purchased and is now going into production. So if you want to find out what's going to be, in your theaters in the near future, you'll never get anything more earlier than my show.
If I may just reinforce here, Script Show is great. I enjoy listening to it, and I've even had the honor of being a guest a few times. And if you haven't checked it out, you should check it out. It's really unique and different. So that's my opinion.
Thank you, sir.
Price, what do you got going on? You got a show tonight, right? The Quantum
Leap?
I
mean, we have Quantum Leap revisited at 10 p.m. on the live channel on Price of Reason Live, which hopefully Script will be there. And then at 11:45 p.m., there's the Night Owl, which is also nice for people that are up late.
Yeah, and I've bopped on there a couple times.
It's been great. We're always happy when you're there, but I don't want to take that for granted. So if ever you are in the mood, you're always welcome, of course.
If I'm not busy and if I have a chance, I'll pop in there, of course. But yeah, so you never know. I may hop in there later on tonight, or you never know what night. But Nick, are you gonna be on TNT?
I will be on TNT in a half hour. Hi, TNT. Hi. And of course, Clobby's Comic Shop tomorrow. Toxic Tuesday. Next week, The Hateful Eight for Western Month Part 3.
I just watched it.
Yeah, cool. Excellent.
I've seen it a million times. I love it.
I
don't care what anybody says. It has got some of the greatest dialogue scenes ever. And that third act is just fucking amazing when Samuel Jackson puts it all together. And just
This is the only one of the 3 Westerns where I haven't seen it in advance. The other 3.
Really? You've never seen it?
This is the only one of the 4 that were
wow.
I've not seen it.
Have you seen it yet?
No, I haven't watched it. I'm gonna.
Okay,
definitely...
so I don't want to
Yeah.
fucking spoil it
Don't-
for you.
don't-
Then I won't say shit.
Yeah, don't
All
say
right.
anything.
I'm got some
curious.
great dialogue scenes. I mean, I'm sure script
I've
will
seen
come and
some
shit on it
clips
for me.
I've seen some clips get around the place. So yeah. Anyways, yeah. Yeah, that's what's coming up on my channel, and I hope to see you guys either on TNT or Clobby's comic shop tomorrow night. Thanks for having me, Tom. It's good to hang out with you and the dudes.
Yeah, I'm super jazzercised about Hateful Eight. I can't wait.
Good. I want Tom Connors on roids for that show. I want that. I want your Nicolas Cage energy, but with the fanboyism of Tom Connors.
Well, you know what bothers me is it's kind of hard to come by the extended cut. I don't even know if it's still on Netflix anymore. And I don't know if anybody grabbed a 4K version of it. I know there's certain versions of it going around that aren't the greatest of qualities, but yeah. I mean, I'm still pissed we never got a 4K release of that yet, let alone the extended cut on disc. It'd be nice. Because that extended cut is even better than the other version as far as I'm concerned. And it's like one of these things, I watch it like not the Christmas day, but like the day after Christmas or a couple days after, like, you know, when you get that kind of snowed in, you know, well, of course, the only people who know what I'm talking about are like, that are in the areas where they get snow, but you know what I mean? You get that, I'm going to stay in and watch a nice long movie kind of thing. And it's just one of those movies that just, especially in that longer version, it just sucks me right in and I can't stop watching it.
Ooh.
Every time. So. This is the first time I watched the theatrical cut in a while, and it was just like, but it's missing this, and it's missing that. Where's that scene? No. It's only 30 some minutes of extra footage, which is weird, but it feels like so much more. But anyways, I like how Script's been awfully quiet. He's just like, all right, I'm not going to shit on this movie.
I thought we were rounding out, but now we got a new subject of conversation.
No, Hateful Eight. We're not going to get too deep into it because, he hasn't seen it yet, so I can't wait to hear what he thinks about it, though.
Wow.
Okay, the extended cut is still on Netflix. Well, I don't have Netflix. So. And I got a friend who does a pretty good job at making 4K Blu-rays, let's say.
Ooh. Ooh.
I do have a 4K scan of, or the DCP scan of Hateful Eight, but all the titles are in, like, Russian. What the fuck? Hey.
Whoa.
Is he telling you to get back to work?
Probably.
Pablo has been working for me in the background the whole time, so it's good. Anyone feel like a mini review of Alien Romulus?
Oh, yes, no, you went and saw it. Okay.
I did.
Let's hear it.
Well, here we go.
Yeah. So what do you think I thought of it?
Well, we've already heard what Gary and some other people have been saying about the movie, so.
What did they say?
Well, what we've been hearing is that the third act really bites the dust. And in fact, one of our Toxic Femme regulars, Vex, didn't care for it all that much. Or no, not Vex, Michelle. Sorry, she was talking to Vex. That's my bad. Michelle did not like it at all.
Michelle was right, and everyone else has been generous. Woo! This was a piece of garbage.
Whoa.
Well, what would I expect from Fede Alvarez, right? Like, sorry.
No. Fede Alvarez is not the problem. Fede Alvarez did good. It's fine. It's tonally perfectly fine and everything. Fede Alvarez wasn't the problem here. The problem is Ridley Scott, because this is a sequel to Prometheus.
I knew it. Even though certain people tried to convince me it wasn't gonna be.
I mean, this movie owes so much more to Prometheus than it does the original Alien. So the problem here is not Fede Alvarez. Alvarez did perfectly fine. I mean, give him a better script. I mean, lock Ridley Scott into a closet and Fede Alvarez would have delivered a great movie here. But Ridley Scott is the one that messed this up. You mean his hand is on all over this thing. This is all about transhumanism, mutating with that black goo and the engineer. No, it's I hated Prometheus.
I'm glad I didn't go, even just for the popcorn bucket. And that was kind of part of the reason I was pissed, because they were already selling the popcorn bucket before the movie even came out. So I'm like, I'm not going to get one now.
So yeah, this is a Ridley Scott strikes again.
Not really. So what's up with the ending? Because that's what everybody's talking about, is the ending is really bad. Anybody who doesn't want any spoilers, plug your ears for the next.
I
2
will
minutes.
keep my ears open.
It's the same ending as Alien, really. It's basically like the
Ripley off?
the lone survivor heading off into space, going into hypersleep, and who knows when they'll be coming out again.
I like that. Hashtag Tom was right. Actually, I think speaking, we were just talking about Hateful Eight, so I think it's kind of perfect that I earned this.
I fucking knew it! Oh!
That's one of the best scenes there. Yeah.
So yeah,
Anyway.
I just want to pop on that. Be sure to check out the main channel in maybe 10 minutes, because that's when my review will be going up.
Oh, so you have a totally different video you've been working with him on.
Yeah, well, this came together real quickly while you've been live.
All right.
Wow.
Well, I can't wait to
Cranking
see
out
it.
the hits this week. I love it.
Yes, indeed. So yeah, I'm sure we'll talk more about that on the morning show too, won't we?
Yeah, probably.
All right. Well, we're glad we got you to pop into here. We were actually just wrapping up, but
I know. I figured, well, I can give you a little preview before the video
all right.
drops.
So hop in check out the video later, and don't forget to hop back in tomorrow morning to hear more about Alien, and we'll see how it does at the box office. How was your crowd?
The crowd was pretty good. Remember, I'm in the outer rim right now. It's where it's never like that big crowds, but for this it was a pretty decent crowd. But I think that those crowd sizes are going to shrink rapidly as word of mouth spreads.
Interesting. Well, thank you, Andre, for that. I appreciate it. And I think we're going to get out of here then. So take care of yourselves and each other. And Sadie, yes, I know it's time to go outside. She's telling me it's time to go out.
As a reminder, I've been here when it was glory hole days, and I've been here when it wasn't. And so having said that,